Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Web Audio TV. If you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button.
Logically speaking, Guan Shan's claim was probably false, but his assertive demeanor and the calm confidence in his voice made his outrageous statement somewhat believable. While maintaining their armed stance, the lead officer, Zhang Feng, suspiciously dialed his superior's number. Chief. Before he could finish, the other side quickly interrupted. Immediately return. The Baxiang town incident has been taken over by a special commissioner. We have no authority to interfere. Zhang Feng was stunned. Special security group. It seems you've already encountered them. Remember, comply with their requests as much as possible. If you haven't seen anything, immediately withdraw and help seal the area. If you have seen something, act as if you haven't. Zhang Feng, I've always known you to be steady. Don't ask questions, and don't be curious. This is an order. Ensure there's no conflict with them. Understood? The tone was extremely serious, with hints of fear and reverence. Zhang Feng's expression turned grave, and he responded firmly, understood. Landlord Zhang Luoyang was in disbelief as Zhang Feng ordered everyone to lower their weapons and conversed calmly with Guan Shan, then began evacuating the scene. To Zhang, Guan Shan's claims were utterly implausible. His initial interaction with Guan Shan was due to the latter claiming to need a warehouse for his art business. Could the police conduct art businesses? Even an ordinary person knew that was illegal. If Guan Shan were on some secret mission, causing such a commotion, it would indicate they were in the final stages of wrapping up. It wasn't covered, so why was the police unaware? Arriving only to find a misunderstanding. Zhang felt there was something fishy, possibly even a massive conspiracy. Previously, that strangely dressed woman seemed to be seeking revenge, and now she had vanished. Could she have turned over a new leaf? She must be dead. Zhang felt a cold chill. Now that Guan Shan and the police had reached an understanding, he was the only outsider and witness, meaning he might be silenced. The thought made Zhang's legs go weak, and he collapsed to the ground, staring blankly at the warehouse, overwhelmed by despair. Zhang Feng asked Guan Shan, is there anything else you need? Cleaning the scene, for example. I'll cooperate as much as possible. He glanced at the warehouse interior, trying to catch a glimpse. The warehouse was pitch dark, and barely anything was visible, but the floor seemed reflective with liquid, and there was a distinct scent of blood in the air. With his years of experience, Zhang Feng estimated the amount of blood loss indicated at least 3 fatal wounds. But Zhang reported that only one woman had come. Zhang Feng could imagine the horrific scene if there was indeed only one death. Despite having no visible bloodstains, Guan Shan's eyes and demeanor had a menacing aura that reminded Zhang Feng of the most heinous criminals, if not more terrifying. Recalling his superior's tone, Zhang Feng pondered what kind of organization the special security group was. His offer to clean the scene was also a subtle attempt to probe the truth. No, our special security group will handle everything. But please leave the landlord here. Guan Shan shook his head, relieved. He had gambled on the special security group contacting the police, not wanting a direct confrontation. Though with his current strength, Guan Shan could confidently handle regular armed police. Zhang Feng frowned. He's just an ordinary person. Guan Shan replied, precisely because he's an ordinary person, he needs protection. If he's left alone, and there's retaliation, it won't just be his life at risk. Zhang trembled, pleading, I didn't see anything? Spare me. Zhang Feng discreetly moved closer to Zhang. Guan Shan sighed, fine, I'll leave it to the logistics team. He looked at the snow-filled night sky, they should be here soon. Zhang Feng was puzzled. Who? He soon found out. 3 special security group helicopters descended, landing on the nearby flat terrain. Luckily, being on the outskirts, there was ample space. The logistics team arrived first, greeting Guan Shan before systematically cleaning the scene and measuring energy levels. Zhang Feng, dumbfounded, spotted his former squad leader among them. The leader, once thought to have joined a secret unit, was now logistics for the special security group. The squad leader recognized Zhang Feng, smiling before resuming his task of cleaning blood. The warehouse lights were turned on, revealing a gruesome scene but no bodies or flesh, only eerie blood trails. Zhang Feng's worldview was shaken. Why would such an outstanding and proud leader accept a logistics role? Guan Shan, meanwhile, was surrounded by the familiar faces of Yuhao Team's first squad. They silently observed Guan Shan as if he were an anomaly. Even Gao Ya, with her typically aloof demeanor, Chen Penjiayun and Tang Ji, usually talkative, made Guan Shan uneasy with their quiet scrutiny. What were they plotting? Say something? Guan Shan couldn't help but ask, why are you just staring at me? Chen Penjiayun, unable to hold back, gave a thumbs up. Impressive, Brother Guan? You really killed Drone B1? That's an A rank. Why are you calling me Brother Guan too? Guan Shan shrugged, not exactly killed. Drone B1 was definitely still alive, having escaped in a mechanical puppet, whereabouts unknown. Chen Penjiayun continued excitedly, in less than 2 months, you've taken out at least 7 or 8 C ranks, all high level. Add surviving against a B rank and killing an A rank, you'd be a captain in any squad with those achievements. He eyed Guan Shan curiously, your strength must be near B rank now. Guan Shan glanced at his level 20 status, almost, maybe soon. Chen Penjiayun praised, then added, but our captain isn't bad either. She broke through to B rank after the Death Hive operation. His vivid description made Guan Shan look at Gaoye in surprise. She turned away, coldly huffing, "It's nothing special." But she was clearly pleased. Guan Shan realized why Xiaolei chose her as captain. Without the simulator's help, she had quickly advanced. An unparalleled talent? Tang Ji whispered mischievously, "I heard Wu Hao team's cheesing you tried to seduce you. Her charm ability is famous. How was it?" Guan Shan, "Should I tell them that not only was I not seduced, but I almost killed her? What kind of experience is that?" Guan Shan grumbled internally but refrained from voicing it. After all, the mystery surrounding Qi Xingyu's death hadn't been cleared, and he might still be under suspicion in some people's eyes. If he mentioned drawing his gun, it would only complicate things further. Especially since he couldn't explain why, despite Qi Xingyu's obvious charm attempt, he had reacted by pulling out his gun, a reaction that defied common sense. Could it be because he loved Xiao Shen too much? Very likely. Guan Shan dodged the topic with a few vague responses and moved on. Gao Ye asked, "What happened here?" Chen Penjiayun returned to the main issue, saying, "We were coming back from the north of Hengcheng when we got wind of a pan-spirit object leak. It caused a bunch of espers to fight over it, making quite a scene, so we had to handle it. Midway, we heard something happened here and realized it might be a diversion. We rushed over, and who did you fight?" Guan Shan glanced back. "Do you know Free Logistics?" Tang Ji's expression turned serious. "Them? This is bad." Chen Penjiayun explained, "They're not just a criminal organization. They're a grey market commercial group connected with many esper organizations." He suddenly understood. No wonder. The pan-spirit object that leaked was cargo Free Logistics was transporting. It was a setup. Guan Shan raised an eyebrow. "So, they're still a criminal organization. Why doesn't the special security group handle them?" "Can't." Tang Ji shook his head. "They're like the Church of Unity, very complex with numerous backers. Any trouble, and many groups will support them." Gao Ye stared at the bloodstains. "Did you kill them? Any evidence left?" Guan Shan instinctively replied, "No, I always clean up after myself." Chen Penjiayun. Tang Ji. Gao Ye twitched. "I wasn't asking about you. I meant evidence proving they're from Free Logistics." Guan Shan. "Damn, I instinctively placed myself as the criminal." Guan Shan coughed awkwardly. "It seems, not." His rewards didn't include anything related to their identities. They appeared reckless but were very cautious. "That's bad," Tang Ji said. "Free Logistics will likely claim those people were temp workers who unknowingly hired criminals and promised to improve their hiring standards." Oh, judging by his familiarity with this rhetoric, it seemed Free Logistics had done this many times. Guan Shan felt helpless. "So, no justice then." He sighed, "But they were after my pan-spirit object. They might come again." Gao Ye said firmly, "We'll investigate. I won't let them come again." Xiaolei's voice suddenly appeared. Everyone turned to see the elegant middle-aged man approaching with a slight smile, especially nodding at Guan Shan. "Director Xia," the squad greeted in unison. Guan Shan was surprised. "Didn't you say it was impossible?" Xiaolei chuckled. "The special security group might have trouble with Free Logistics, but I, Xiaolei, can protect one person. My reputation still carries some weight." Guan Shan had chatted with Sun Han at the Wuhao base, knowing a bit about Xiaolei's past achievements and reputation. As a retired A rank, using his connections to protect a C rank was doable. "Thanks, Director Xia." Guan Shan moved closer, shaking Xiaolei's hand gratefully. Xiaolei smiled, thinking, "If I don't protect you, who knows what your little girlfriend might do? We rely on your support." Novelplex.org. Donate now. Xiaolei said warmly, "You're my recruit, so I'm responsible for you. You're part of Yu Hao team. I won't let outsiders bully you." As the squad felt touched, he added, "Besides, I've received orders for you to participate in an important mission next year. Even if I don't intervene, the internal affairs team will protect you fully. You knew about this, right? Why does that feel like the main reason?" Guan Shan twitched but nodded. "Yes. Do we know when yet?" "I have some personal matters to handle." Xiaolei pondered. "Around February next year. I'll personally take you. We'll likely conduct a full evaluation of your strength, so be prepared. For now, enjoy the holidays." Thoughtful organization, huh? Guan Shan sighed. "So this matter is over." Xiaolei patted his shoulder. "I'll handle it, ensuring it won't affect you further." Guan Shan nodded, ending the matter. The squad, having missed the battle, started analyzing the aftermath with the logistics team, guessing how Guan Shan handled the fight. Meanwhile, Officer Zhang Feng seemed to know someone in the logistics team. With Xiaolei's permission, he chatted with the person in a corner, both laughing and crying, recalling past sorrows. After their chat, Zhang Feng would have his memory cleaned, so they were left alone. Xiaolei and Guan Shan watched from a distance. Xiaolei suddenly asked, "By the way, I heard you've been doing charity work." Guan Shan was taken aback. "Yes, I asked Xiao Lin Schumann to run a shelter for disabled people and orphans." Xiaolei smiled. "Count me in. Over the years, I've saved quite a bit and have nowhere to spend it. Doing some good is nice. Saved money, no place to spend. Is this even human talk?" Guan Shan nodded awkwardly but then realized something. "What about your family?" Xiaolei looked wistful. "I lost them. In my youth, I angered someone, and they killed my entire family." His tone was light, but the story was chilling. Imagining the bloody past that forged the current Xiaolei was daunting. Guan Shan felt a new understanding of esper conflicts. In this world, one must advance or be sacrificed, and for him, that meant protecting Shen Dinghua. Xiaolei suddenly looked at Guan Shan. I once doubted my decision to keep you. Guan Shan stayed silent. But when you returned from Liaoshan, you chose to settle Beihe village's residence and used your money to build a shelter. I knew I wasn't wrong. His gaze was deep. Espers are born superior. If they can still extend a hand to the weak, they must have an indelible conscience. I believe this, and it's why the special security group exists. Guan Shan smiled. They call me demon god. Xiaolei laughed. Shouldn't you be fierce with enemies? Back then, during my revenge, I wasn't called celestial. The atmosphere between them warmed considerably. As they chatted, Guan Shan checked his rewards. Experience plus 32000. Final boss defeated. Game simulation ended. Zombie Siege 2. Final boss defeated. 1/1. Rating upward arrow. Elite monster defeated. 1/1. Rating upward arrow upward arrow. Reward, backpack expansion slot x10. Rating, perfect. Reward, game currency x 40,000. Skill points x2. Achievement unlocked. All rewards delivered to the backpack. Settlement complete. Please wait for the next simulation. This time, the reward included 10 backpack slots, and the scene wasn't destroyed during settlement. With Guan Shan's level up, the simulator was clearly undergoing some subtle changes. Typically, the rewards it offered were just what Guan Shan needed or could use to compensate for his shortcomings. It was like a professional game planner, arranging each phase's rewards based on the player's needs. Guan Shan had noticed this before but didn't pay much attention since it was beneficial to him. However, the simulator never seemed too obvious about it. But now, the simulator's changes were glaringly apparent. The usual destroying the scene step was completely gone. Guan Shan keenly sensed something was amiss. One reason he initially believed the simulator was creating a simulated, fictional scenario was because it always destroyed the scene, and ordinary people didn't notice anything unusual. Could it be that the simulator deliberately hid its reality from me? Guan Shan pondered. Now that I'm fully aware of the simulator's truth, it stopped bothering to hide it. This made him suspicious that the simulator might have another agenda. Yet, upon reflection, it didn't seem to affect much. Except that Guan Shan unwittingly became a feared and ruthless executioner. Maybe this was the simulator's plan all along. Guan Shan thought wryly. By the time I realized it, it was too late to escape. He sighed, trying to focus. The missing destruction step was concerning, but he was more interested in the 10 additional backpack slots. Free Logistics, being an organization that collects and transports pan-spirit objects, having space-related items among its members wasn't surprising. So, the simulator extracting backpack slots from this scenario made sense. But the issue was that the simulator was being overly generous this time. 10 slots? It felt like a last meal. There's always something fishy when things are unusual. Guan Shan knew the simulator too well. It usually skimped on rewards, never being generous. This could only mean one thing: before a big battle, there's always a supply drop. Guan Shan thought, with the breakthrough mission ahead, this task is likely going to be a tough one. I need to be fully prepared. After this mission, he had 134,042 game coins and ample backpack space, enough to clear out the shop, including the previously expensive and seemingly pointless toy bear. The logistics team's efficiency remained high, quickly cleaning the warehouse and handling the nearby residents. Even the unwittingly involved landlord Zhang wasn't left out. Since he had witnessed everything, they couldn't erase his memory but had him sign a confidentiality agreement and arranged for undercover protection. Zhang, relieved to find he wouldn't be silenced and would receive a hush fee, was overjoyed. Guan Shan bid farewell to everyone and headed straight home. Click. Locking the door and turning on the lights, Guan Shan grabbed a cola from the fridge, sat on the sofa, and took out the product of the furnace core from his backpack. A humanoid mechanical construct. Crude humanoid mechanical creation, unnamed. Health, 15,000. Effect, assists the player in autonomous combat, equipped with skills: air cannon, self-destruct, camouflage, repair. Description, furnace technology, crafted with ingenuity, bringing you the experience of Cyberpunk 2077. In reality, Guan Shan wanted to mock the fact that this was made from an old-fashioned blacksmith's furnace, but if the simulator said it was so, it was. And visually, it did look quite cyberpunk. A nearly transparent outer contour revealed its inner mechanical structure, reminiscent of the robot from the movie I, Robot. Most cyberpunk was the silver mechanical heart and the plastic tubes throughout its body, where a mercury-like liquid seemed to power it. The left arm had no hand, replaced by a cannon barrel, clearly the air cannon source. We rely on your support. Novelplex.org. Donate now. According to the skill description, one shot can deal over 5,000 damage, but it needs a 30-second cooldown and can only fire up to 5 times consecutively before requiring self-repair, or it will overheat and disintegrate. Guan Shan stroked his chin, but even so, the damage is impressive. The repair skill not only allowed self-repair but could fix any mechanical item within its scope. Self-destruct was self-explanatory, a one-time skill causing 50,000 damage. The camouflage skill could form an optical camouflage on its surface, making it less conspicuous. Guan Shan thought for a moment and, with a hint of mischief, tried to make it look like Shen Dinghua. Unfortunately, the thing lacked transformation capabilities. The surface was just that, a surface. meaning, it had no hair, so it couldn't generate hair, just a skin overlay. Likewise, facial features and the body were the same. The result was too disturbing for Guan Shan to look at. He covered his eyes, cancelling the skill to avoid going blind. This looks like a beginner's 3D modeling project. With a sigh, Guan Shan turned it into Agent 47, a bald man in a suit with a barcode tattooed on his head. A bald head couldn't go wrong? Next, Guan Shan tested its intelligence. Pick up the cola. Hand me the cola. These commands were fine. Get a can of cola from the fridge. The suit guy opened the fridge, stared at the canned cola, and pondered over the term a can. Then, it simply popped the top off the can and handed it to Guan Shan. Guan Shan stared at the cup in front of him. In a way, it wasn't wrong. Say a tongue twister. 800 paces. Who am I? Dear player, you can set how I address you. Call me Mr. Guan. Okay, Mr. Guan. Who are you? Crude humanoid mechanical creation, open parenthesis, unnamed, close parenthesis. After a few simple commands and questions, Guan Shan gave up on its intelligence. As for the name, Guan Shan couldn't be bothered to come up with another. You'll be called 47 from now on. 47's flat, cold face showed no emotion, producing a mechanical voice like the simulators. Yes, Mr. Guan. Guan Shan nodded in satisfaction. With 47 and Shadow Clone, one in the open and one in the shadows, their coordination would be perfect. Now, there's only one more issue to address. Guan Shan took out the worker bee pendant, narrowing his eyes at the queen bee inside the glass container. Queen bee, have you considered my offer? You grant chiefly freedom, and I grant you freedom. Fair, isn't it? Leaning back on the sofa, he tapped the armrest, his tone icy. My patience has limits. Understand that, and we can cooperate smoothly. The queen bee inside the glass jar fluttered its wings, emitting Chief Li's voice, Xiao Guan. The slightly hoarse voice, familiar and gentle, held a hint of hesitation. Guan Shan's cold smirk froze. So that's the situation. Guan Shan awkwardly coughed twice, looking at Li Jiying sitting on the sofa across the coffee table. Thinking about what he had just said to the queen bee and his attitude, he couldn't help but feel like he wanted to dig a 3-bedroom apartment out of the floor with his toes. This was as embarrassing as being caught practicing a Cayman Rider transformation pose at home. The queen bee had clearly compromised. As it had mentioned before, it projected Li Jiying, giving her a body that couldn't be detected by ordinary people. So, I'm already dead. Li Jiying looked a bit wistful but quickly perked up, smiling at Guan Shan. Anyway, thank you, and I'm sorry for dragging you into this. Her tone was gentle, showing a softer side that was uncharacteristic of her usually decisive nature as a superior. Guan Shan felt a bit uncomfortable, especially since they were alone in his house. If Li Jiying still acted like a superior, it would be fine, but her current demeanor made him sense a different atmosphere. He shook his head, deliberately adopting a businesslike tone. It's nothing. You were a victim too, so there's no need to apologize. As a member of the special security group, it's my duty to take down the mastermind. No, Li Jiying shook her head. I was the one who sent you to Beihe village and took you inside, not it. So, I'm the one who dragged you into this. This surprised Guan Shan. He thought Li Jiying had at least been manipulated or controlled by the queen bee. You can consider it my selfishness, or personal vendetta. I couldn't just watch those children's bones rot in the mountains unnoticed, so even if it meant others might die, I wouldn't hesitate. Guan Shan was taken aback but then remembered the photo she had shown him, gaining some understanding. She lowered her gaze. If you hadn't come, I would have kept contacting the next person, and the one after, until someone survived to expose what happened in Beihe village. Hearing this, Guan Shan couldn't help but ask, what about the queen bee? It wanted freedom and used your will. Its power should be enough. Li Jiying shook her head. It never handed over control of the body to me, and with its intelligence, it would just mess things up. Queen bee. For some reason, Guan Shan felt the queen bee's powerless rage from the pendant. He gave a wry smile. I suppose I can understand. Li Jiying brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, looking at Guan Shan. In the face of death, one truly realizes what they want. At my most desperate moment, your call gave me hope epsilon. Guan Shan blinked, then remembered that call to Beihe village was because Xiao Shan mentioned Chief Li was on a business trip in Liaoshan. Coincidence? As the thought crossed his mind, Li Jiying continued in a soft voice, thank you for saving those children, and for saving me. It's really just my duty, nothing to thank me for. So, if you ever need anything, just ask, and I'll do everything in my power to repay you. Li Jiying gave a self-deprecating smile, speaking softly. Besides, this body isn't real anyway. Her words and gaze were too obvious, so Guan Shan turned his head away, joking, I don't need much, just no overtime. Li Jiying was taken aback, then laughed, deal. Originally, I planned to resign after returning from Beihe village. Now, it shouldn't be too late. This time, Guan Shan was the one surprised. Resign. Li Jiying nodded, looking mischievous. I noticed you guys were always gossiping about my background. Guan Shan looked serious. No, it's just Lu Rui gossiping. Sorry, Lu Rui, brothers are for taking the fall at critical moments? But Li Jiying's background and connections were indeed a favorite topic of gossip among the staff, second only to what is Guan Shan's real identity. He didn't even want to know how far that had spread. Li Jiying didn't mind, directly stating that her family did have some connections. The newspaper's performance is good enough now, mostly thanks to the VB official account you manage. They are very pleased. I still need to thank you, otherwise, it might have taken me another 2 or 3 years. The more Li Jiying said, the more pressured Guan Shan felt. Due to the queen bee, Li Jiying's existence now entirely depended on him. Seeing her guilt and dependence grow with each act of gratitude was worrying. In other words, he had to let her repay the favor, or things could get out of hand. Li Jiying continued, after resigning, I'll establish my own newspaper in Shanghai. If you need, you can be affiliated with it. Guan Shan quickly smiled, I do need a regular job to balance my life, but I can't frequently take leave. Your offer would be a great help. Li Jiying seemed pleased, it's settled then. Guan Shan thought for a moment, then opened the pendant and handed the worker bee inside to Li Jiying. You should be able to have a physical form near the queen bee. I'll just give it to you. Li Jiying took it, straightforwardly asking, it won't run away. The queen bee finally couldn't hold back, buzzing around Li Jiying, you and I are one. I can't run away, and neither can you. We're stuck with him for life, with no freedom. Are you okay with that? Li Jiying raised an eyebrow, isn't that good? Guan Shan face-palmed. The queen bee was too furious to speak. It had planned for so long for freedom, only to end up still bound to Guan Shan. As long as he held part of the pendant, he could always make the worker bee pendant whole again. Guan Shan tried to console, you can go wherever you want. I'm not stopping you. Isn't that freedom? The queen bee was silent for a while, then squeezed out, fine. I need to find a safe place to cocoon, transforming this worker bee body into a new queen bee, so I can continue producing worker bees. Guan Shan helplessly asked, why are you so obsessed with producing worker bees? While worker bees were useful for controlling people, they had no combat power, and the queen bee wouldn't sacrifice its offspring just to control humans. However, if a new queen bee could be produced, it would benefit Guan Shan greatly, as its blood was a key ingredient for ascension candy. The queen bee retorted, you don't understand. Reproduction is the ultimate mission of all life. It's my lifelong pursuit. Each worker bee brings me immense joy. Okay, I don't understand that. Li Jiying interjected, wait, I can't trouble you anymore. I'll find the place myself. Guan Shan was surprised, all right, but be careful and discreet. If you have any problems, just come to me. He emphasized, this is a friend's help on equal terms. Li Jiying smiled, I understand. She extended her hand, and the queen bee landed on her palm. Don't worry, I've already thought of a place that's safe and hidden. A few days later, after nearly a month, Li Jiying reappeared in the newsroom, naturally causing the restless editors and reporters to buzz with excitement and gossip in their small groups. Guan Shan also made a rare appearance at the office, garnering quite a few curious glances. Thanks to Li Jiying's presence, these people didn't dare to openly discuss him as they used to, clearly still very wary of their strict editor-in-chief. Li Jiying's reaction to this situation was uncertain should she feel gratified or find it amusing. Guan Shan shrugged. He was back at his familiar yet somewhat foreign desk, with Xiao Shen following him early in the morning. Yesterday, after giving the queen bee to Li Jiying, she left on her own, likely returning home to finalize the transition. Having not been in the office for a while, Guan Shan noticed that the entire office was newly decorated with simple window decorations and festive adornments. The words Welcome the New Year were hung prominently on the front wall, creating a cheerful atmosphere. It reminded him that it was already close to the end of the year, and soon it would be New Year's Day. As expected, the moment Lu Rui saw him, he eagerly came over, winking and whispering, Guanji, tell me, what has the editor-in-chief been up to this past month? It must be some big news, right? Guan Shan raised an eyebrow and casually said, the news is indeed quite big, but usually, the bigger the news, the more we have to work overtime. What's there to be happy about? Lu Rui was taken aback, then thought about it and realized it made sense. He immediately looked crestfallen, Guanji, don't be so harsh. Do we really have to work overtime? Gossiping about the newsroom was entertaining, but when it came to actual news, they were the ones who had to bear the brunt. Guan Shan shrugged, don't worry, no overtime. We might even get a holiday. Lu Rui was initially relieved but then realized something was off, muttering, a holiday. Guan Shan didn't give him time to think, immediately changing the subject, how's the official account going? Mentioning this excited Lu Rui, who opened his phone and began talking about how he managed the official account successfully, gaining more followers on VB every month. Guan Shan glanced at it and realized Lu Rui was quite talented, leveraging the official account's influence and gaining support, even garnering fan support. He patted Lu Rui on the shoulder, showing a benevolent expression, not bad at all. Lu Rui felt a bit uncomfortable under his gaze, Guanji, if you have something to say, just say it. Guan Shan pondered for a moment, the account will be entirely your responsibility from now on. Lu Rui was shocked, what? Someone in front of them coughed, reminding them to lower their voices. Lu Rui quickly apologized and quieted down, looking back at Guan Shan, who had already turned away, leaving him to wonder what this meant. Ding dong. At that moment, a new message popped up on Guan Shan's phone. He glanced down. Winter Daphne, Comrade Guan, I have a very important question for you now. Guan Shan's heart skipped a beat. He turned to look at Shen Dinggua's desk behind him. Xiao Shen peeked out, giving him an innocent and sweet smile, enough to melt anyone's heart. Ding dong. Another message arrived. Winter Daphne, do you know what day it is today? Boom. At that moment, Guan Shan's heart stopped, feeling as if he was about to have a heart attack. His brain worked quickly, trying to figure out what day it was. Guan Shan quickly glanced at the calendar on his desk, confirming today's date was December 31st, New Year's Eve. Since she asked this kind of question, it couldn't be just about New Year's. Holding hands? That happened too many times to be memorable. They've held hands dozens of times, so it couldn't be a special day. Fighting and making up? That never happened. Gifts? Too many to count. That left only the day he confessed and their first kiss, which was on November 15th, about a month and a half ago. If it were a commemorative day, though the timing was a bit off, it could still be considered. A with ring above yes. Apart from these, Guan Shan couldn't think of anything else. He'd been preoccupied with the simulator's quests recently, leaving little time for interaction with Xiao Shan. There shouldn't be any other memorable events. As seconds ticked by, Xiao Shan's gaze felt increasingly oppressive, causing him a bit of a headache. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't think of any other special day. Carefully, he responded with what he thought was the most reliable answer. Mountain beyond mountains, it's the 46th day since I confessed and our first kiss, about a month and a half. Right? Winter Daphne, Sigma, degree wow, Xiao Shan, you actually remembered? Guan Shan breathed a sigh of relief, smiling. Mountain beyond mountains, of course, I remember every day we've been together. Winter Daphne, but you got it wrong. Both messages arrived almost simultaneously, freezing Guan Shan's smile and halting his typing. Wrong? No way. He slowly turned his head, trying to see Xiao Shan's expression, but she was already back at her computer, hiding her face. Yet, Guan Shan felt a chilling aura emanating from her direction, quite terrifying. Is there still a chance to make things right? Help needed, urgently. Guan Shan was at a loss, his mind in turmoil when Li Jiying knocked on the newsroom door, entering with 3 deputy editors, Zhang Xiyan among them. Upon seeing Guan Shan, Zhang Xiyan visibly flinched but quickly masked it. Li Jiying, drawing everyone's attention, walked to the front and solemnly announced, "Everyone, please allow me to interrupt for a moment to announce something. Starting today, I will resign as editor-in-chief." The newsroom erupted in shock, everyone wide-eyed and breathless as they listened to Li Jiying's subsequent words. The announcement was straightforward. Li Jiying was resigning, Zhang Xiyan would be the new editor-in-chief, and the current news department head, Peng Fei, would be promoted to deputy editor. Peng Fei's successor would be Lu Rui. The decision immediately caused several people to react, with Dai Yi's face darkening as he stood up and protested, "I object. Lu Rui and we have only been regular employees for less than 6 months. Why should he be the news department head?" Guan Shan wasn't surprised. Dai Yi had previously undermined him, proving he was small-minded. Now, hearing that Lu Rui was being promoted over him, he was bound to explode. Li Jiying calmly replied, "Objection overruled. This decision was made by me and the 3 deputy editors after careful consideration. Lu Rui has made significant contributions to the new media project, greatly enhancing the newspaper's reputation, hence the special promotion." Dai Yi pointed at Guan Shan, gritting his teeth. Wasn't Guan Shan in charge of the new media? When did it become Lu Rui's work? Such credit stealing and backdoor deals are too much. The office fell into an awkward silence. Everyone was aware of what Dai Yi had just said, but who would be foolish enough to voice it out loud? Doing so would not only offend the leadership but also Guan Shan and Peng Fei's faction, essentially committing career suicide. However, Dai Yi didn't seem to care about any of this. He had already made enemies. At this moment, he stood up, condemning the dark dealings of the newspaper. If it weren't for his personal grudge against Guan Shan, one might even see his actions as self-sacrifice for justice. Because typically, whether successful or not, such an outburst would likely result in losing one's job. But Dai Yi had been cozying up to Zhang Xiyan for a while, becoming his close confidant. Now that Zhang Xiyan was in charge, it was uncertain if Dai Yi would stay or go. The newsroom was filled with savvy individuals, all staying silent, watching the drama unfold. Li Jiying remained calm. Guan Shan was responsible for the initial setup. Recently, Lu Rui has been managing it. If you suspect any mutual falsification of results, please present your evidence. She looked around, emphasizing, as journalists, our first duty is to respect the facts. Before we have solid proof, we must not fabricate or speak carelessly. This is a fundamental rule. Dai Yi's face turned white and then green. Her words were clearly directed at him, but aside from his anger, he had no recourse because he had no evidence, or rather, no opportunity to gather any. Ever since 2 months ago, Guan Shan had been elusive, spending less time in the office than Dai Yi did in the restroom. Dai Yi had tried to find out where Guan Shan went, but all his attempts failed. Guan Shan suddenly spoke up. The IP addresses used to log into the official account can be traced. We can ask the tech department to check. If Lu Rui agrees, we can make the data public. Lu Rui, snapping out of his shock and joy, quickly agreed. I agree, I absolutely agree. He had disliked Dai Yi for a while. Just now, Dai Yi clearly tried to prevent his promotion, so now Lu Rui wanted to humiliate him as much as possible. Li Jiying nodded, looking at Dai Yi. This should dispel any groundless malicious speculation. Dai Yi's face turned even greener, and he felt a twinge of regret. But he still had a glimmer of hope. Zhang Xiyan. Furthermore, I believe we must completely eradicate this kind of behavior. Zhang Xian suddenly spoke up, righteously, starting with severe punishment for those who engage in such actions. He turned to Dai Yi, glaring fiercely, I believe we should fire Dai Yi. Zhang Xian's words stunned everyone in the office. It wasn't just because it didn't seem like something Zhang Xian would say, but also because everyone knew Dai Yi was his lackey. Zhang Xian had always valued Dai Yi, but now he showed no mercy, even suggesting Dai Yi's dismissal. It was as if the sun had risen in the west. For Dai Yi, these words were like a bolt from the blue. He had thought Zhang Xian was his patron, but now his patron was turning against him. Director Zhang. Dai Yi cried out, unable to comprehend, how could you do this to me? Little did he know, Zhang Xian was seething with hatred for him. He had almost managed to forget the shadow Guan Shan cast over him. Seeing Guan Shan today nearly made him flee, but he reminded himself they were in the office, and Guan Shan wouldn't dare cause trouble here. New Thailand bot. Moreover, today's matter had nothing to do with Guan Shan, so why would it provoke him? Although, Zhang Xian had thought the same thing back in the hospital. But now, this fool Dai Yi had gone and provoked him? When Zhang Xian heard Guan Shan's name, his soul nearly left his body. If not for his greatly improved mental fortitude, he might have wet himself. He was both anxious and angry, wishing he could run over and silence Dai Yi. But seeing Guan Shan speak calmly helped him regain his composure. With the matter settled, Zhang Xian's vindictive nature kicked in. His philosophy was, if you make me a little unhappy, I'll make you very unhappy. Even though Dai Yi had been on his side, for his own peace of mind, he wanted to get rid of him completely. No matter how Dai Yi raged, Zhang Xian was now the editor-in-chief. His word was final, and the other editors had no objections. Dai Yi was fired. Guan Shan had no sympathy for Dai Yi, who had once tried to undermine him. He was more focused on Shen Dinggua's question. What was so special about today? Guan Shan racked his brain all the way until the end of the day. Shen Dinggua seemed genuinely upset, not speaking to him once. After much deliberation, Guan Shan finally decided to make amends. But when it was time to leave, he found that Shen Dinggua had already gone home, leaving a message. I'm not mad. Guan Shan sighed inwardly, thinking how unpredictable women were. That certainly didn't seem like someone who wasn't mad. He pondered his next move as he packed up and headed home. This time, Guan Shan cleared out all his belongings from his desk, as he was really leaving. Unlike before, those who used to taunt him left earlier. Dai Yi was fuming as he walked home, carrying all his stuff. Winter nights fell quickly, and the street lights were already on, casting a melancholy glow on the falling snow. Oddly, a hornet perched on a lamppost, despite it being winter. Smack. Growing angrier, Dai Yi threw his things down and pulled out his phone, dialing a number. He intended to expose Guan Shan. Dai Yi knew that the reporter in those interview videos posted on the official account was actually Guan Shan himself. However, the newspaper had kept Guan Shan's identity under wraps. Dai Yi, a rich second generation, had his own connections. While investigating Guan Shan, he discovered those cases involved deep and dangerous interests. But his status wasn't enough to delve deeper. However, he could still expose Guan Shan, bringing him to the attention of those involved. According to Dai Yi, that interest chain involved countless lives. Exposing Guan Shan would undoubtedly bring trouble, perhaps even causing him to vanish. Hello. Dai Yi, smiling maliciously, spoke into the phone. He only uttered one word before freezing. A strange hornet clung silently to the back of his neck. Not far away, under a street light, Li Jiying watched calmly as Dai Yi slowly fell, snow covering him. What day is it today? On his way home, Guan Shan kept pondering this question but still couldn't figure it out. The internal torment and confusion felt worse than fighting a boss. As he watched the scenery speed by outside the bus window, he recalled the life and death struggle with the monsters on the bus. He even wished the simulator would start a new instance to help him forget his worries. But the simulator had been disturbingly quiet lately. Sigh. Guan Shan sighed. He felt increasingly accustomed to the thrills and dangers brought by the simulator. The fear and excitement from the life and death scenarios were far more appealing than mundane daily life. Maybe that's the allure of horror games, both love and hate. Though frightening, the more scared you are, the more you want to play. Gradually distancing from ordinary people was inevitable. Otherwise, unintended harm might be caused. Forget it, I should think about how to appease Xiao Shen. Guan Shan got off the bus and looked at his house and Shen Dinggua's house in the distance, deep in thought. But how? After so many years, due to their unique relationship, they had never fought, so he had no experience in making up. However, the closer Guan Shan got, the more he sensed something was wrong. Shen Dinggua should have returned home early, but her house was dark, and all the lights were on in his house instead. A thief. Guan Shan immediately dismissed the thought. Special security group should have people stationed nearby. There's no way it could be a thief. That left only one possibility: Shen Dinggua was in his house. After all, he had already given her the key. In other words, Shen Dinggua didn't go home to sulk after work but went to his house instead. Guan Shan's gloomy mood brightened a bit. Xiao Shen doesn't seem really mad. No, I can't get too happy now. Even if she's not mad, I can't just waltz in happily. That would seem too heartless. Ahem. Guan Shan cleared his throat and put on a confused, troubled expression. He took a deep breath, rehearsed a bit, then opened the door. The first thing he saw was the living room walls decorated with long strips of colorful paper streamers, creating a festive atmosphere. Guan Shan scratched his head, realizing Shen Dinghua had left early to do this. As their first New Year's Eve together, it did seem worthy of some special effort. Guan Shan walked into the house, put down his things, and heard cooking sounds from the kitchen. He ran over and saw Shen Dinghua in an apron, chopping vegetables at the counter. With grave envy. Judging by her intensity, she seemed a bit angry. Guan Shan noticed she was chopping a cucumber. Hearing the noise, Shen Dinghua turned around, her eyes smiling. Welcome back. The girl had tied her long hair into a neat ponytail. Paired with the apron, her petite figure exuded a homely charm. Guan Shan's heart melted. He quickly stepped forward to help but was stopped by Shen Dinghua, who asked with a playful smile, "Have you remembered what day it is?" Guan Shan was stumped. Shen Dinghua's face turned stern. "If you haven't remembered, stay out of the kitchen and wait in the living room for dinner." Guan Shan opened his mouth, wanting to say he was helping to make up for not remembering. But he was pushed out of the kitchen, sat on the sofa, and even had the TV turned on to his favorite channel. The coffee table was laden with his favorite snacks and drinks, all meticulously prepared. Guan Shan leaned his hands against his chin, deep in thought, staring at the TV screen, utterly baffled. Does this make sense? He had forgotten what day it was, a major relationship taboo. Yet, not only was Xiao Shen not mad, but she was also being even nicer to him. Could she be trying to make him feel guilty? Guan Shan felt guilty indeed. The better Xiao Shen treated him, the more uneasy he felt, as if sitting on pins and needles. It felt like this unusual dinner was a prelude to a doom. Guan Shan's anxiety lasted until Shen Dinghua called him for dinner. Sitting down, he looked at the delicious spread and finally couldn't help but ask, "Why?" Shen Dinghua set his place, muttering, "You really haven't remembered." Guan Shan smiled bitterly, "I really can't remember what today is. Please, Xiao Shen, have mercy and tell me. I won't be able to sleep tonight otherwise." Seeing his pitiful look, Shen Dinghua couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Ha." She laughed to herself for a while, feeling a bit embarrassed, then straightened up and asked playfully, "Really haven't remembered?" Guan Shan was clueless. Though Xiao Shen loved to tease, he couldn't see what was so funny. He could only reply honestly, "I really haven't remembered. Please tell me." Shen Dinghua sighed, "All right, wait a bit, and I'll tell you." "Oh." Guan Shan nodded like a preschooler, sitting obediently and waiting. Finding his serious demeanor adorable, Shen Dinghua supported her face with one hand and started serving him food with the other. The bowl was soon filled with delicious food, but unfortunately, he could only look, not eat. But this didn't bother Guan Shan much, he was almost fasting. Childish Xiao Shen? Guan Shan found it amusing but dared not show it, keeping a sorrowful expression to entertain Shen Dinghua. Her smiling face in the lamplight was more beautiful than the food on the table. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. Guan Shan was puzzled. Shen Dinghua stood up, murmuring, "Finally here." She went to the door. Guan Shan saw a delivery man hand her a large gift box. It felt like a flash of lightning struck his mind, illuminating a previously overlooked day. Shen Dinghua returned, placing the gift-wrapped box on the table, smiling, "Now, do you remember what day it is? Happy birthday, big dummy." She untied the bow, opened the box, and removed the cover, revealing a beautifully decorated cream cake. A birthday cake. Guan Shan was stunned. He had considered every possibility, remembered all their potential anniversaries, and every holiday. Except, he forgot today was his birthday. Guan Shan looked at the girl lighting the candles, feeling a surge of emotion. Since his parents died, he hadn't celebrated his birthday, finding it meaningless. Gradually, he forgot it altogether. But it didn't matter. Xiao Shen remembered. Guan Shan looked at the candles flickering on the cake and Shen Dinghua's delicate, lovely profile. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, but they all converged into a single impulse. "All right, make a wish." Just as Shen Dinghua was about to turn her head, Guan Shan pulled her into his arms. She looked up at Guan Shan, her cheeks tinged with a light blush, and whispered, "What are you doing?" Guan Shan's intense gaze seemed to radiate heat. "Making a wish." Shen Dinghua blinked. "Oh, then go ahead." Guan Shan pretended to ponder, then said, "I wish to kiss you." He leaned in closer, but Shen Dinghua pushed his forehead with her hand, stopping him. With a serious face, she said, "No, if you say your wish out loud, it won't come true, so no kissing." "Huh? That's a rule." Guan Shan's face fell. He then argued, "Whether a wish comes true is up to the gods, not Xiao Shen. So I think there's still a chance. We shouldn't be so hasty." Shen Dinghua laughed, "But I am the god. I'm Xiao Shen's personal god." She put on a stern face, slipped out of Guan Shan's embrace, and sat back down. "I said no means no. Now let's eat." Xiao Shen puffed out her cheeks and muttered, "I spent so much time making these dishes." Despite his overwhelming urge, Guan Shan couldn't ignore the meal Xiao Shen had carefully prepared, including the cake. Shen Dinghua made him make a serious wish again. Guan Shan thought for a moment, realizing he didn't have any grand wishes. He closed his eyes and wished in his heart, "I hope things continue like this. And it would be nice if the simulator wasn't so difficult." After dinner and dividing the cake, Guan Shan and Shen Dinghua sat by the coffee table, playing with snacks and smearing cream on each other's faces. Naturally, Guan Shan, with his now superior reflexes, ended up with a face full of cake, ready to play Santa Claus with a red hat. Shen Dinghua laughed heartily while Guan Shan looked at her helplessly. Who could bear to smear cream on the face of a cute little devil suddenly looking pitiful? so Guan Shan often changed his direction at the last moment, only to be sneakily attacked by Shen Dinghua. However, during their intense battle, some collateral damage was inevitable. Shen Dinghua's neck and clothes also got smeared with cream. When the truce was called, Guan Shan went to wash his face and hands. Xiao Shen lay on the sofa, panting, her chest heaving. Her partially undone collar revealed a dazzling expanse of fair skin, even whiter than the cream. Her skin wasn't just pale, it had a vibrant, rosy hue beneath, making her look especially tender, soft, and inviting. When Guan Shan returned, he saw Shen Dinghua looking up at him, waving cutely, and smiling in a way he was all too familiar with. All his impulses surged up, like a tide breaching a dam, overwhelming his reason. He took 2 steps forward, bent down, and kissed Shen Dinghua's soft lips. Tasting the sweet cream, he greedily licked it clean. Shen Dinghua's fingers tangled in his black hair, gently gripping and releasing. Her moist eyes looked down at Guan Shan without any resistance. Just as Guan Shan wanted to go further, Shen Dinghua pressed his head. There's no more cream. Guan Shan looked at her and whispered, but there's still strawberries. Shen Dinghua playfully punched his shoulder. Xiao Shan has become naughty. Where's the shy dummy I knew? Get up, I need a shower. I'm all sticky and gross. Clean up the table Raoe. Guan Shan chuckled and got up. Shen Dinghua stood, adjusted her clothes, gave him a mock-angry look, then went upstairs to shower. Guan Shan cleaned the messy table, repackaged the leftover cake, and put it in the fridge. Maybe I'll share it with the special security group guys tomorrow. Guan Shan had few friends but had been interacting more with the special security group since becoming an esper. He closed the fridge and felt someone hug him from behind. Warm and slightly damp, the touch was unmistakable. Xiao Shen, sneaking up on me. Guan Shan turned and saw Shen Dinghua grinning mischievously. You sneaked up on me first. Guan Shan was about to tease her but noticed she was only wearing a thin shirt. He quickly carried her to the sofa, wrapping her in a blanket. It's winter. You'll catch a cold. Wrapped up like a cocoon, Shen Dinghua blinked and whined, then Xiao Shan will have to carry me to the hospital at night. Guan Shan found it both funny and adorable. All right. But let's avoid that. He carried Shen Dinghua upstairs. Halfway, she asked, Xiao Shan, do you remember the last time I celebrated your birthday? Guan Shan paused, then nodded. He remembered, but it seemed like ages ago. Back then, his parents were still alive, but birthdays rarely involved real cakes. His parents were just ordinary workers, and the family was poor, often struggling. Even among common folk, they were considered impoverished. So, despite wanting to celebrate his birthday, they couldn't afford a proper cake and only bought cake bases. Yes, just simple cake bases. Without the fancy cream decorations, they were much cheaper. Guan Shan's birthdays always passed this way. As a child, he understood but still yearned for a real cake. Though he didn't complain, he deeply desired a genuine birthday cake. One day in middle school, by chance, or fate, Shen Dinghua, his desk mate, brought a delicate little cake to school. It wasn't a birthday cake, just her regular snack. But to Guan Shan, it was the most beautiful cake he'd ever seen, almost an art piece. In their rural school, Shen Dinghua was the center of attention, not because of the cake, but because she was Shen Dinghua. That day, she didn't eat the cake but gave it to Guan Shan. Surprised and puzzled, Guan Shan looked at her with wide eyes. Shen Dinghua nonchalantly supported her chin, turning away. I'm on a diet. You can have it. Back then, we were still in high school, around the start of sophomore year. I gave you a little duck. Do you remember? Shen Dinghua's words interrupted Guan Shan's memories. Guan Shan paused, then nodded. That was the second time she celebrated his birthday, the first formal one. The first time, in middle school, Shen Dinghua didn't know it was his birthday and had casually shared her cake. It made sense she wouldn't remember. But the high school incident was different. She formally celebrated his birthday and wished him a happy birthday. As for why the gift was a little duck, it was simply because Shen Dinghua liked it. Although she said it was because Xiao Shan is like this duck, silly and clumsy, he remembered her mischievous look, clearly teasing him. Guan Shan smiled softly, of course I remember. I still have that little duck in my bathroom. Shen Dinghua blinked, hugging his neck. But I didn't see it when I showered earlier, and I didn't see it last time I visited. Did you lose it? Guan Shan paused, feeling a pang of guilt. It can't be. I kept it in the bathroom. He looked at Shen Dinghua, who stared back at him. His voice grew softer. He carried Shen Dinghua to the bedroom, then rushed to the bathroom. He searched frantically but couldn't find it anywhere. His heart sank. Is it really gone? But I always kept it here. There's no way it was stolen. Shen Dinghua appeared at the bathroom door, wrapped in a jacket, and held his hand, shaking her head. If it's lost, it's lost. I'll get you a new one. Guan Shan felt reluctant. But, seeing Shen Dinghua's gaze, he reluctantly agreed. All right, I'll look again later. Let's rest for now. Shen Dinghua hugged him, looking up. It's just a little rubber duck. It's old anyway. Does it really matter that much? I just don't want you to be upset. Guan Shan pinched her cheek. If I didn't care, wouldn't my Xiao Shan be mad? Shen Dinghua playfully clawed at him. Then I'll have to eat Xiao Shan. She looked so small and soft, like a playful kitten. Guan Shan considered, eating me isn't impossible. Maybe in a different way. Shen Dinghua hummed non-committally, get my parents' approval first. That's something I should plan for. Guan Shan knew Shen Dinggua's parents, being elites, wouldn't trust their daughter's future to just anyone. He needed to prove himself. Previously, they were more lenient because of his achievements at the paper and Li Jiying's support. With Chief Li's help and the special security group's backing, it should be fine. What happens after that? Guan Shan teased. Shen Dinghua pretended not to understand, giving him a sidelong glance before slipping away like a rabbit. We'll see. Guan Shan, amused, watched her blush and escape. She's so cute. Guan Shan made a bed on the floor, letting Shen Dinghua sleep on his bed. In the middle of the night, he got up quietly and went to search the bathroom for the missing duck. NB. I know it should be here. He searched thoroughly but found nothing, feeling increasingly frustrated. He even considered asking the special security group. Does it really matter that much? Shen Dinghua's voice came from the door. Guan Shan looked back to see her standing in the dark, head tilted. He sighed, it's different. I feel bad. You always remember my birthday, but I lost your gift. I couldn't take care of something so important. I'm afraid you'll be sad. Shen Dinghua approached, pulling the little duck from behind her. She placed it in his hand, smiling. I took it while showering. I did it on purpose. Guan Shan held the duck in silence. Are you mad? Shen Dinghua squatted down, supporting her chin. I've tricked you many times. Every time, you believed me without question. Sometimes, I wonder why. She looked down. Is it because of me, or because I'm Shen Dinghua? Guan Shan didn't fully understand but sensed a rare vulnerability in Shen Dinghua. However, Shen Dinghua was Shen Dinghua. Shen Dinghua touched the duck's head. Xiao Shan's heart is like this duck. It seems I can take it easily, but its owner will always find it and take it back. Her fingers walked to his chest. Its owner is so persistent, crossing mountains to find it. She looked at him deeply. Don't you agree, Guan Shan? Guan Shan was speechless. Xiao Shan's tone was unfamiliar yet oddly familiar. A thought crossed his mind. Shen Dinghua smiled, asking softly, are you mad? Guan Shan, exasperated, thought, she's right. I can't stay mad at her. He shook his head. No. Shen Dinghua sighed. Xiao Shan is mad. Guan Shan said, really, I'm not. Shen Dinghua held his hand. You just don't want to show it. But I want you to be mad, to do something bad to me. What should I do? Guan Shan took a deep breath, trying to pull her up. Stop joking. Shen Dinghua pushed him, and they both fell into the bathtub, hitting the shower handle. Water poured down, soaking them. The broken handle turned the shower into a fountain. Guan Shan wiped his face, looking at the broken handle. He laughed awkwardly. Looks like we need to fix this. 3 hours ago, Lin Shuman had just completed her necessary tasks, including her duties as a member of the special security group and matters related to transforming the orphanage into a shelter. Her next task was to follow and document Guan Shan's movements, a long-term mission that had never been terminated. However, since Guan Shan's contributions had increased, the surveillance on him had loosened, and constant monitoring was no longer required, only periodic reports. Technically, Lin Shuman didn't need to make this trip at night. But this time, she had something important to discuss with Guan Shan, requiring his opinion, so she had to come over. When Lin Shuman arrived at Guan Shan's house, the birthday cake delivery had just reached the doorstep. She walked in through the open door, noticing the colorful decorations everywhere. Lin Shuman paused, realizing Shen Dinghua was celebrating Guan Shan's birthday. She felt a twinge of envy but quietly found a corner to stay in, minimizing her presence. This is really bad timing. Lin Shuman still had some psychological shadow from Shen Dinghua. Back in that bloodied alley, Shen Dinghua's smiling glance had left a deep scar on her. It was like a scene from a horror movie. Even though later Xiaolei's investigation found no energy readings and Shen Dinghua's background was clear, suggesting it was just a coincidence or her imagination, Lin Shuman couldn't fully believe it. She was sure she hadn't seen wrong, and the lingering fear and dread remained in her mind. Shen Dinghua was definitely hiding something. However, if even Xiaolei, a former A rank, said there was no problem, it meant this issue was beyond her reach. Lin Shuman, being an experienced intelligence officer, knew when to step back. Do your job and nothing more. Lin Shuman thought this, watching the pair's interactions from the dinner table to the couch and even upstairs. She felt full just from watching them. When the house finally quieted down at night, Lin Shuman breathed a sigh of relief, ready to report her business. Waiting for a while, she ate an emergency energy bar. Hearing footsteps from upstairs Guan Shan, she assumed. Lin Shuman felt relieved, heading up to report. Because of her fear of Shen Dinghua, she moved cautiously, avoiding unnecessary noise. As she got closer, she heard Guan Shan and Shen Dinghua talking. She was sure she only heard one set of footsteps. Feeling uneasy, Lin Shuman considered retreating but found herself just half a meter from the bathroom door. Since I'm here, might as well. Curious, she heard words like angry and wondered if the couple was arguing. From her observations, Guan Shan and Shen Dinghua seemed like a model couple, with no signs of conflict. Curiosity got the better of her, making her want to understand the reason. Having observed Guan Shan for so long, she felt almost like watching a drama, deeply invested in their story. Missing a part felt uncomfortable. Just a bit closer, to hear better. Lin Shuman moved forward, about to lean on the door when she realized it wasn't locked. Moreover, it opened inward. Meaning her weight and push force opened the door? Lin Shuman was stunned, not reacting as she tumbled in, seeing Guan Shan and Shen Dinghua in the bathtub, embracing. Plop. Her energy bar fell to the ground as her mind froze, overwhelmed by embarrassment and shock. What? What did I see? What were they doing? Lin Shuman's face turned crimson, her thoughts a chaotic mess. RAOES. Worse, her surprised exclamation drew Guan Shan and Shen Dinghua's attention, both turning towards her. Clearly, her out-of-bounds behavior caused her invisibility to fail, especially with Guan Shan's level. He could see her now. In that moment, falling into the room, Lin Shuman's expression twisted, almost feral. No, no way, this can't happen. She couldn't let this be discovered. It would be a social death? The third squad's Lin Shuman, caught spying on a couple during a mission, her reputation would be ruined. Lin Shuman felt a surge of energy, her microcosm igniting, bursting with potential. Disappear, all of you? Hey. Guan Shan heard a familiar voice, his heart skipping a beat. Looking up, he saw no one. He was puzzled. Strange. With Lin Shuman's level, I should see her once she makes a sound. Did I hear wrong? Was it not her? What's wrong? Get up, or you'll catch a cold. Shen Dinghua extended a hand, pouting, helping Guan Shan up and checking him over before looking at the broken switch. This switch is really poor quality. Sorry, switch, you have to take the blame. Guan Shan laughed awkwardly. Can't say it's because I'm too strong. After cleaning up, they laughed off the incident, leaving it behind. As Guan Shan walked out, he saw a half-eaten energy bar on the floor, the same kind Lin Shuman had given him before. It was her. Guan Shan, understanding, put Shen Dinghua to sleep and went downstairs. Lin Shuman, you there? Lin Shuman peeked out from behind the kitchen wall, acting casual. Looks like you found my clue. Guan Shan looked at the energy bar in his hand. This is a clue. Your powers seem stronger. He laughed. Want some cake? There's some left. He took the cake from the fridge, placing it on the table. What did you need to tell me? Lin Shuman looked at the cake, nodding. Do you remember Lily? Lily? Cough, cough, cough. Guan Shan froze for a second, awkwardly remembering the significance of that name. Or rather, that cat. The cat that Guan Shan, mistaking it for a stray, sent to a pet store for breeding and then neutering a female cat, male inside. Among all the black marks in his history due to misunderstandings about the simulator, this was the only one done on his own volition, making it particularly embarrassing. So much so that he neither wanted to mention it nor think about it and had almost forgotten. But now, Lin Shuman's mention of it forced the memory back. Guan Shan coughed a few times, trying to remain composed. Him? What about him? I remember he joined the Yuhao team, right? Is there a problem? Lin Shuman explained. Yes, that's correct. But after the Death Hive was wiped out, he said he felt relieved and found being human too tiring. He wanted to continue living as a cat, raising kittens, or something. So, he doesn't want to use his abilities anymore and hopes to serve his sentence quickly. This request has recently been approved. Guan Shan was dumbfounded. He's enlightened? Wait, how is he going to serve his sentence? Just because he says he won't use his abilities doesn't mean he can't. As a criminal, isn't he still dangerous? Lin Shuman replied, Special Security Group has a method for dealing with criminals who voluntarily serve their sentence and renounce their esper status. You don't need to worry about that. As for serving his sentence, that's why I'm here. Because of the significant psychological shadow you left on him, the higher UPS believe that being with you reduces the risk. So, they want him to join you on your next mission. Be prepared. Guan Shan. What do you mean, significant psychological shadow? I swear I'm not a pervert. I really thought it was a stray cat and wanted it to leave offspring out of humanitarian concern, which is why I sent it to the pet store. Alright, no one's going to believe that. Guan Shan sighed, giving up on explaining. Alright. Is he still at the pet store? Lin Shuman shook her head. He's in the base now. Also, Director Xia wants you to come to the base on the 15th for a comprehensive strength evaluation. Guan Shan squinted. The evaluation should be done by someone from the Central Adjustment Team, right? Lin Shuman nodded. Guan Shan sighed inwardly, knowing he couldn't avoid it. Since joining the Yuhao team by accident, he had been under Xia Lei's protection and was a non-staff member, mostly left alone. His initial level was low, indicated by his B prefix in the archives. RBS. Esper's initial levels are usually adjusted upwards, based on their highest potential as evaluated. Guan Shan's B prefix meant he was considered to have a maximum potential of B level. Of course, this didn't mean they were wrong. Initially, Guan Shan had only shown physical enhancement and basic storage space abilities. It was hard to see higher potential from that alone. Who could have guessed he relied on a simulator? Now, having fully destroyed the Death Hive, Guan Shan finally came under the Special Security Group's higher UPS radar. Xia Lei's protection was no longer enough. Guan Shan now needed to think about how to hide part of the simulator's existence. He wasn't worried about being exposed but was more concerned about potential hostility from others if the simulator activated suddenly. That would be a disaster. Based on the Special Security Group's initial observations, he needed to present himself as a physically strong space ability esper. Most of the time, he had displayed items in front of ordinary people, and no one paid much attention to the details. If he had to team up with other espers of the same level in the future, he would need to explain the source of some of his items. There would likely be a mole from the Central Adjustment Team among his future teammates. However, the fact that he took down the drone bee should be well known. He could push the blame onto drone bee. Guan Shan fell into deep thought, while Lin Shuman, seeing this, focused on eating the cake. When Guan Shan finished thinking, he looked up to see Lin Shuman licking the plate. They locked eyes, creating an awkward silence. Lin Shuman quietly put down the plate, then crouched under the table, holding her head. Guan Shan's mouth twitched. Actually, I didn't see anything. As soon as he said it, he wanted to slap himself. This was just making it worse? Lin Shuman said nothing, probably wishing to disappear entirely. Guan Shan tried a different approach, saying, I mean, are you really that hungry? Oh great, that sounded even more like an insult. Just as Guan Shan thought Lin Shuman might have left, she emerged from under the table, acting nonchalant. Not really hungry, but I've eaten energy bars for so long, and it's been a while since I had real food. I couldn't help it. Guan Shan, surprised, pushed the remaining cake towards her. Then take all this. By the way, you haven't had any tasks recently, right? Don't you eat regular food? Lin Shuman shook her head. No tasks, but I'm used to it. Eating like this keeps my weight within my abilities range. More importantly, if I eat normally all the time, I might not last during missions, so I have to adapt. She looked at the cake, showing a happy expression. But it's okay to indulge occasionally. Guan Shan smiled, then asked, by the way, does the Special Security Group have annual leave? Don't you go home for the new year? Lin Shuman hesitated. You can apply, but most espers don't want to go home. As for me, I can't go back. I spend every new year on missions with my brother. Guan Shan pondered. Your brother, he seems like a decent guy, hates evil. Yeah, he's like that. I joined the Special Security Group because of him. Lin Shuman clenched her fists, confused. I thought you might dislike him. After all, it was his mistake that got you involved in the restaurant incident. Guan Shan was speechless. He was a victim too, wasn't he? Including Zhao Hong and his wife, they were all victims. The real culprits were the Death Hive. At least they're gone now. Yes, thanks to you? Lin Shuman smiled. Actually, he's not my real brother. He found me during a mission. Guan Shan, found you? Lin Shuman said sadly, yes. I have my own family, I know where they are, but I can't go back. In my last year of middle school, I awakened my ability, Invisible Presence. At that time, I didn't realize my ability and couldn't control it. Gradually, people started ignoring my existence. I was angry and tried doing weird things to get their attention. But it was futile. Until one day, Lin Shuman smiled faintly. I came home as usual, but my mom didn't set a place for me at the table. I stood in front of my parents, watching them eat, chat, wash up, go upstairs, and turn off the lights. I stood in the living room for a long time, not knowing what to do. I thought they were joking with me, so I got really mad and ran away from home. I thought they'd come looking for me, but Lin Shuman used her fork to poke the cake. I wandered for a month. With Invisible Presence, I survived well, eating what I wanted, unbothered by anyone. When high school was about to start, I went back. But when I got to my front door, I found my key couldn't open it. My parents had changed the locks. The key in my hand couldn't open my own home. Why must the Special Security Group rely on psychological evaluations to determine if an esper is dangerous? Because every esper, to varying degrees, inevitably has psychological issues. This has almost become an unproven natural law. Espers come from normal society but are themselves abnormal. Before realizing they don't fit in with normal people, they often go through a lengthy process. During this process, anything can happen. So, even for someone as unusual as Guan Shan, it's really just standard fare. For Lin Shuman, her biggest psychological issue might be her abilities. It's hard to imagine the despair and helplessness Lin Shuman felt when she returned home one day to find the locks changed, her key unable to open any door in the world, and no place to call home. She, like that key, had become something the world abandoned. Guan Shan could hardly imagine how, after such an experience, she could remain so righteous and even somewhat naive, filled with goodwill toward the world. For instance, tripping Zhang Xian into the hospital and unconditionally helping Guan Shan establish a shelter. By normal development, she should be shouting it's not me, it's the world that's wrong, and then go black and start wreaking havoc on society. It seems Lin Wu's influence on her was significant, and she was optimistic enough herself. Lin Shuman didn't resent her abilities but continued to use them to help the Special Security Group combat crime, full of positive energy. Guan Shan quietly handed her a tissue, asking, so Lin Wu found you then? And you joined the Special Security Group until now, you never tried going back to find your parents. Lin Shuman steadied her emotions, sadly saying, I went back. But by the time I could control my abilities freely, 3 years had passed. They were so deeply affected by my ability that they completely forgot about me, moved elsewhere, and had a new child. If I showed up then and lifted my ability, it would probably be even more unbearable for them, right? Lin Shuman buried her face in the tissue, her voice muffled. It's not their fault. It's just because I couldn't control my abilities. Why make them suffer this pain too? Anyway, I'm doing well in the Special Security Group, can support myself, and even help others. Guan Shan consoled her. If they knew, they'd be very proud. Lin Shuman suddenly lifted her head, clenching her fists. Even though they don't remember me, I still have to live well. If I die and my ability lifts, they'd be even more heartbroken. Guan Shan didn't know whether to feel sad or happy for her. Lin Schumann blinked, then remembered, oh, I got accepted into Hangzhou High School. So we almost became classmates. Guan Shan was surprised. He and Shen Dinghua graduated from Hangzhou High. Really? That's quite a coincidence. Even if we didn't become classmates, we're colleagues now. Guan Shan felt a bit amazed. The world is neither too big nor too small, but such coincidences are indeed fateful. Lin Schumann smiled. Yuhao team might be just a start for you, but for me, it's home. Guan Shan shrugged. As long as we're in the special security group, we're colleagues. And I'm only a C-class right now. Who knows what'll happen in the future? Lin Schumann shook her head, sighing softly. That's because you don't know. Having the Central Adjustment Team personally come to evaluate you is rare. Aside from you, only 3 others have had that A with tilde O. Guan Shan was stunned. Huh. He thought everyone had this. It turned out to be special treatment? That means he's more noticed than he thought. Lin Schumann counted on her fingers. Cheng Xingguo, special class, eventually S-class. Feng Qingai, element type, also S-class. And the so-called human limit, Xie Chen, physical type, also S-class. Though not all S-classes get this attention, those who do all end up as S-classes. Guan Shan's mouth twitched. So, Lin Schumann looked serious. So, once this news spreads, you're recognized by the Central Adjustment Team as a future S-class. Guan Shan. As everyone knows, a tall tree attracts the wind. He might now be seen by many as a talent too dangerous to be left alone. Lin Schumann saw his face change and quickly comforted. Actually, you don't need to worry too much. The Central Adjustment Team assigning you to a secret mission is also a form of protection. At least foreign forces won't get a chance. Guan Shan's expression was complicated. No, that's not my concern. What he worried about was that the abilities he'd shown so far weren't particularly outstanding. Even if he did take down a drone bee, it was just a brain domain developer Esper. Why was the Central Adjustment Team doing this? They shouldn't have realized that Guan Shan's abilities weren't just his Esper power. So, the only value he could have was that he could stir up trouble. So far, Guan Shan had provoked at least 4 major factions. And the hospital mission hinted at an underlying interest chain. It's likely they wanted to use Guan Shan as bait. After a bit of thinking, Guan Shan understood the Central Adjustment Team's intentions. These high-ranking Espers wouldn't act without purpose. He was probably being used as a pawn by these big shots. Perhaps, he shouldn't get too close to official organizations. But it was too late now. He'd have to hide as much as he could. After sending Lin Schumann off, Guan Shan quietly returned to the bedroom. Shen Dinghua was still asleep, but he couldn't sleep. He got up to check the breakthrough mission, seeing that there were only 2 days left. Breakthrough mission, Zoo, not started. Requirement, reach level 20, follow the guide to start the specified simulation scene at midnight in 2 days. Note, don't believe anything they say. Asterisk note, the breakthrough mission is very difficult. Please make full preparations before attempting it. Guan Shan definitely wanted to make full preparations. He decided to clear out the store first. Currently, he had 134,042 game coins. The store only had Toy Bear and Lucky Pot X10, costing 13,000 in total, leaving him with 121,042. Taking a deep breath, Guan Shan used Lucky Pot X10. 10 consecutive draws? Hope I get something good. You used Lucky Pot X10. You received Strange Meat Chunk X1. You received Monocle X1. You received Cola X1. You received Blindfolded Doll X1. You received Thank You for your patronage X1. You received 1 coin X1. You received Leafy Vegetable X1. You received Time Bomb X1. You received a pile of mold X1. You received Trash X1. Guan Shan looked at the flood of messages, twitching his lips. The drop rate was really low. This simulator making a horror game was a waste of talent. It should be making anime gacha games. Out of the 10 draws, only Strange Meat Chunk, Blindfolded Doll, and Time Bomb were clearly useful. 1 coin had an unclear purpose, and the rest were all useless items. Guan Shan sold the remaining items to the simulator's shop, getting only 100 game coins in total. This is officially certified trash from the simulator, isn't it? A single 100 coin lucky pot, and 10 of them only recovered 100 coins. That's brutal. Guan Shan flipped his middle finger, continuing to quietly check the effects of the retained items. Strange Meat Chunk. Effect, increases maximum HP by 1000, with a chance to produce the effect Tough Skin. Description, the shed skin of some existence, still wriggling in a craving, though long devoid of thought. Tough Skin, reduces damage received by 5%. This item looked somewhat similar to the entwined flesh parasite Guan Shan picked up in the restaurant dungeon, but its effects were far more astonishing. Directly increasing the maximum HP by 1000, along with a damage reduction effect. With this damage reduction combined with other skills, it would amount to 50%. Additionally, Guan Shan's HP would be significantly boosted, finally allowing him to completely overpower a level 10 boss. Truly something to celebrate. Equally eerie was the item named Blindfolded Doll, which made one lose sanity just from its name. This item was a stone sculpture, very crudely carved into a full human figure. However, this figure was covered with writhing eyes, each embedded in the stone, staring at Guan Shan. But for Guan Shan, who had already been baptized by the eyeball tree, this sight no longer fazed him. As long as monsters didn't look like this, it was all fine. As for its effect, it was a bit of a chicken rib, similar to a voodoo doll. It cursed a target, connecting their body to the stone sculpture. Damaging the sculpture would then cause the target to take equivalent damage. However, while damaging the sculpture, one must absolutely avoid being seen by its eyes. Otherwise, once the sculpture shattered, it would turn into a vengeful spirit haunting the one who damaged it. A complete double-edged sword. If the eyes of the sculpture could not be completely shielded, it was akin to killing 1,000 enemies while losing 800 oneself. Well, I'll keep it for now. It might be useful later. Guan Shan currently had no one to curse, but resolving the reverse curse of the sculpture was simple. He had the soul-burning whistle skill. As long as the level was high enough, any vengeful spirit could be annihilated, nothing to fear. The next item was the real weapon, ASSR from the Lucky Pot. Time Bomb. Effect: after exploding, it generates a 10-meter radius field where time stops for everyone except the player for 5 seconds. Description: 5 seconds is still too short for a father. Time stop? This item could be said to be the strongest, most valuable item Guan Shan had ever obtained, even surpassing the crowbar. Though the crowbar, which could open any door, was also powerful, it required finding and touching the door on the opponent's body. Time Bomb only needed to be thrown and exploded. Simple activation conditions, combined with the powerful time stop ability, made it undoubtedly a divine artifact. Guan Shan even suspected he had sacrificed part of his lifespan. This breakthrough task might be of unprecedented difficulty. Wait. Guan Shan suddenly remembered the wish he made in front of his birthday cake, hoping the simulator's difficulty wouldn't be so high. Then he drew this life-saving artifact from the Lucky Pot. He felt a bit embarrassed. Could the simulator really be so humane? No, it must be a coincidence. Every simulator gift has a hidden price. Never believe it has a conscience. Guan Shan cautioned himself to be extra careful for this breakthrough task. And the last one. This item was the only one Guan Shan couldn't determine the value of. 1 coin. Effect: insert into a vending machine to exchange for an equivalent item. Description: as you can see, this is a 1 yuan coin. Although it seemed ordinary, its effect specifically mentioning vending machine made it unusual. Given the simulator's nature, this item must be special. Encountering such an item or when the shop reopens, there would definitely be a vending machine appearing. At that time, this coin would show its true value. However, given its denomination of only 1 yuan, what it could buy was uncertain. So Guan Shan couldn't judge its value. But keeping it couldn't hurt. Guan Shan was very satisfied with the lottery results, significantly enhancing his combat capability once again. Now, he just needed to wait. In the darkness, Guan Shan closed the simulator interface, and as he closed his eyes, Shen Dinghua opened hers, looking at Guan Shan with infinite tenderness. Consider it a birthday gift. At the headquarters of a courier company in Hangzhou, the manager's office, a man in a suit sat behind the desk, looking like a salesman. In front of him, an employee in a courier uniform was reporting. However, the report involved 2 lives. The manager stood up seriously. The main force of Group 4 was wiped out? The unsolved case from a month ago finally has a result. The employee nodded. Yes, the owner of that pan-spirit object is an auxiliary member of the Special Security Group Yuhao team, Guan Shan. The manager froze, then sat back down, his face dark. So it was him. What's the value assessment of that object? The employee handed over prepared materials, at least A grade, and someone has already shown interest. The offered price is enough to rebuild Group 4, plus more. And the buyer is from the black market. The manager narrowed his eyes, silent for a long time, then said, then go and take it. There was no doubt that as a long-running company always maintaining cooperation with various forces and prioritizing efficiency, the strength of free logistics was undeniable. After investigating Guan Shan's identity and strength, the manager quickly devised a plan and called in a B-level courier. Yes, based on Guan Shan's past performance, especially the deaths of people like Bian Xingyun, the manager reasonably judged that his current strength had already transcended C-level and likely touched the edge of A-level with that pan-spirit object. Therefore, the B-level person the manager called in was not just any B-level but a famous elemental esper. An inherently strong type, awakening at B-level. However, even among elementals, there were differences in talent. Being born as a B-level did not mean one would necessarily advance further. Some might stay at B-level their whole life. The one the manager called in had been stuck at B-level for over 10 years, unable to cross into A-level. But even so, he was among the top at B-level. Even if Guan Shan used that pan-spirit object, he would have no chance of winning. You cost me so many men and still want to leave my territory unscathed. If this gets out, where would my face go as Zhang Xinglong? The manager sneered twice. Even if the special security group comes for me, I must take you down. Though he spoke so boldly in front of his subordinates, he knew in his heart that the real reason for his determination was that someone from the black market had their eye on that pan-spirit object. And the buyer's identity was not low. According to reliable information, they were likely from the Heavenly Curtain. As long as he could please the Heavenly Curtain, the special security group would be no problem. Manager Zhang was determined to get it. However, the B-level elemental esper was currently on a mission transporting a pan-spirit object and would need to return before they could act. 2 more days, that's the deadline for this guy. Manager Zhang squinted at the photo of Guan Shan on the documents. Breakthrough mission, the zoo, activated. Players, please follow the prompt to the designated location for scene simulation. 2 days later, a well-prepared Guan Shan stood in his living room, waiting for the breakthrough mission to start at midnight. Since celebrating his birthday, Shen Dinghua had been staying at her own home due to her parents' return and had persuaded them to join Guan Shan in moving to Shanghai to join Li Jiying's new newspaper. Guan Shan still felt a bit guilty because Shen Dinghua had decided to become a photographer because Guan Shan said he wanted to be a journalist. But now, due to the simulator, his time for normal journalistic work was decreasing, and it was hard to take Shen Dinghua to work with him. Shen Dinghua, however, firmly believed in his story of being invited by the authorities to participate in important secret missions and did not complain about his lack of time. But because of this, Guan Shan felt even more guilty. This can't go on. I need to talk to Xiao Shen about this. Guan Shan sighed. An esper's identity needed to be kept secret, but for close relatives, there was no need. For humane reasons, it was not difficult for someone who spent intimate time daily to notice anomalies. To prevent more troublesome situations, they opted to inform relatives, who then had to sign a confidentiality agreement and be closely monitored. With circumflex. In fact, even without telling others his identity, Shen Dinghua was still under surveillance. Although officially for protection, everyone knew what it really meant. Guan Shan felt it was time to come clean, otherwise, always deceiving Shen Dinghua made him feel guilty. He took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Everything before him changed again, but unlike last time, it did not turn pitch black. Instead, it was clearly midnight, yet suddenly brightened, with a blinding light illuminating everything. Guan Shan felt a sudden brightness, literally, before the surrounding environment underwent a complete transformation. He was no longer in his living room but on a tree-lined path. Cicadas chirping, cicadas chirping. The piercing sound of cicadas filled the air. Warm sunlight poured down from above, filtering through the leaves, creating dappled light on the ground. A gentle breeze blew, bringing a hint of summer warmth, accompanied by the rustling of treetops. Wait, summer? Guan Shan was stunned, not just because it was genuinely winter in reality, but also because the simulator, known for its eerie filters, had suddenly changed. The simulator always turned day into night, now it turned night into day. So bright, so warm, so normal. The previous scenes, either eerie and spooky or filled with blood and flesh, starkly contrasted with the current scene, bringing a tear to Guan Shan's eye. Could it be that the simulator really heard his birthday wish and decided to lower the difficulty? Guan Shan was almost moved to tears. At the same time, the familiar mechanical voice began to sound again. Scene scan completed, breakthrough mission activated. A horror game, the zoo has been generated. Plot loaded. This appears to be an ordinary zoo. Except for the poor business, its facilities are complete, new, clean, and beautiful. Attracted by its appearance and promotion, you decided to relax during the holiday. What better choice than to see those cute little animals? However, as soon as you step into the zoo, you find a strange piece of paper left by a visitor. Asterisk note, only by killing the final boss can you end this simulation. The words horror game were so glaring that they instantly dispelled the trace of gratitude in Guan Shan's heart. Indeed, this was still the horror game simulator. Despite the seemingly pleasant setting, the core must have remained unchanged. Guan Shan realized he might have been happy too soon. Usually, if a horror game starts with a warm scene, it means more caution is needed. After the warmth, there would often be more terrifying and bizarre plots and elements. Guan Shan took a deep breath, first pulling out the mask, demon blade, and pistol. Alright, I've been through so many scenarios. Just a twist, I can handle it. He walked along the tree-lined path until he saw the zoo entrance. There was no one at the ticket booth. Guan Shan cautiously checked around and indeed found a damaged piece of paper. If it were just an ordinary scrap of paper, Guan Shan would not have given it a second glance. However, this piece of paper was interactive and displayed a hint. Paper. Content: the zoo has no elephants, elephants cannot swim, there are no rabbits, rabbits only have 2 eyes, there is no aquarium, there is no path there. Description: a damaged piece of paper, seemingly stained with blood. This is more than just blood. Guan Shan shook the paper, looking at the stains in the corner with a twitch of his lips. Based on his rich experience, he judged that the bloodstain, though small and faint, contained at least blood, flesh, bone, hair, and nails. This bloodstain didn't seem to be from a normal injury but more like a product of someone being put through a blender, and then smeared onto the paper. Just this glimpse was enough to make one's scalp tingle. Especially in this sunny, harmonious environment, the splash of bright red on the paper made it even more eerie. Damn, this zoo might be man-eating. Guan Shan cursed and put the paper away. The hints given by the simulator were always crucial, just like in the previous breakthrough mission, providing very important clues. In a breakthrough mission, Guan Shan had no idea who his enemies were. Even though he knew they were likely espers, he did not know their abilities, making the simulator's hints extremely important. From the words on the paper, elephants and rabbits were key, and the aquarium facility was also crucial. Since the zoo clearly had no elephants and rabbits, it meant that if they appeared before Guan Shan, they must be monsters. And cannot swim and only have 2 eyes were likely hints about their abilities. However, for now, the information was still limited, and he couldn't determine what those abilities were. Additionally, at the ticket booth, Guan Shan found half a ticket stuck inside. The ticket was torn in half, with the remaining half being a map of the zoo, marked as free. The map highlighted areas like lion area, goat area, elephant area, rabbit area, and the aquarium. Guan Shan frowned. There are no elephants and rabbits, yet there are designated areas for them, and the aquarium's location is marked. This zoo seems like a trap. He thought for a moment, so does that mean the elephant and rabbit areas are enemies? Guan Shan pondered. No, it can't be that simple. The paper might not be an official hint from the simulator, but a diversion. In any case, let's start with the nearest place, the rabbit area. To be cautious, Guan Shan summoned his shadow clone. He had the shadow clone scout ahead, while he followed behind, checking suspicious spots. This way, he felt much safer. As Guan Shan walked through the zoo, he didn't see a single person, but the overly peaceful atmosphere made him involuntarily appreciate the various facilities in the zoo. However, the more he looked, the more he felt something was wrong. After a while, he realized, having never been to a zoo before, that most of the buildings in this zoo were two-story small buildings, meaning the animals were exhibited indoors. Is this layout reasonable? Guan Shan didn't know and didn't dare to ask. However, because the simulator's environment was based on reality, he could use these details to judge the nature of the place. This was a complete architectural complex, not a large office building, so it was likely a factory, and it being operational at this time indicated a 24-hour shift system. Since monsters were mixed among the animals, it meant these animals could be normal people. Guan Shan controlled the shadow clone to stop and look up. In front of him was the entrance to the rabbit area. His real body hid behind the wall beside the area. It's not cowardice, just being cautious. The door was transparent glass, clearly showing a large area inside, with a few wooden partitions painted with children's drawings, looking very cozy. However, under those wooden boards was a shallow layer of red, seemingly paint but actually matching the bloodstains on the paper. The shadow clone's cautious footsteps paused, feeling uneasy. This bloodstain is at least 2 centimeters thick and evenly spread. It's unlikely to be smeared on, so it must be blood or something else that spread across the floor, soaking into the bottom of these boards. 2 centimeters thick, covering the entire floor with blood. How many people had to die for that? The shadow clone took a deep breath and stepped into the rabbit area. After just a few steps, he saw a rabbit lying on the grass separated by the wooden boards, or rather, the so-called rabbit. The rabbit was as tall as a person. Its fur was messy, interwoven with writhing, tentacle-like parasites. Its limbs were covered with tumors, muscles bulging beneath, and its claws were black and sharp. The most horrifying part was its head, which split open from the snout, revealing half a human face underneath, as if the human face was either being swallowed by the rabbit or fused with it. Above the mouth were 4 eyes, 2 blood-red rabbit eyes and 2 human eyes. Each pair of eyes grew independently, seemingly pasted onto the face, creating a strong sense of dissonance, enough to make one feel nauseous and fearful. As the shadow clone approached, the rabbit was instantly alarmed. It raised its head sharply, 4 eyes staring at the shadow clone, and opened its mouth, emitting a sharp laugh. Ha ha ha. At the same time, information about the creature appeared before Guan Shan's eyes. Rabbit man beast, leave 20. Health, 40,000. Description: this zoo has no rabbits. If you see one, run immediately. As Guan Shan saw this information, the rabbit had already flashed in front of the shadow clone with incredible speed, its half-human, half-rabbit face grinning horribly. Damn it, I need to be able to run first. Guan Shan's heartbeat skyrocketed, his brow twitching, as he controlled the shadow clone to turn and flee. Whoosh. Outside the rabbit area, Guan Shan's real body hid by the door, wearing the mask of agony, slowly drawing the demon blade, raising it high. The best way to overcome fear was to face it. Guan Shan took a deep breath, silently waiting for the arrival of the rabbit. Although he didn't know what this thing was, as long as it dared to show its health bar, he dared to kill it. Shadow Clone had now been upgraded to level 3 by Guan Shan. It had the same physical attributes as the main body, which was roughly the strength of a B-level physical class cell activity enhancement type Esper. Its speed and strength had reached terrifying levels. But even so, the Shadow Clone was still being chased relentlessly by that eerie rabbit, and the gap between them was narrowing. It was foreseeable that the Shadow Clone would soon be caught. 10 meters, 5 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter, stop. At the moment the Shadow Clone crossed the threshold, Guan Shan squinted his eyes and ordered the Shadow Clone to suddenly stop. The next moment, the rabbit indeed pounced like a beast, opening its mouth wide to bite the Shadow Clone. The mouth was composed of 2 parts, the upper part was a rabbit, and the lower part was a human. The terrifying thing was that, upon closer inspection, the human part had been split in half vertically. The lower jaw was exposed, and the interior was completely integrated with the upper half of the rabbit. Looking into the open mouth, one could clearly see the complete outline of a human, or rather, a silhouette, with the internal organs wriggling clearly visible. Below the lower jaw, there was even a shoulder. It seemed that under the rabbit's fur, there was a twisted, reversed human torso. In other words, the upper half of this thing was half a rabbit, and the lower half was half a human. It was as if the rabbit's skin had parasitized on that person, gradually devouring half of the body, creating a horrifying sight. Especially when seeing the 2 human eyes on the rabbit's head, the sense of horror and incongruity intensified. Guan Shan had experienced many scenes, but it was the first time he had encountered such a grotesque monster. When this thing pounced, he couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. If bitten by this thing, it would definitely not end well. However, Guan Shan needed this creature to bite the shadow clone first to test the damage level. SHK. The rabbit bit down mercilessly, while the shadow clone twisted its body at the last moment, avoiding vital areas and only getting bitten on the arm. 2,300. A significant number popped up. The shadow clone's arm was instantly pierced by sharp teeth, and its health dropped by a sixth. The tentacle-like things on the rabbit's body became active, all stabbing towards the shadow clone like leeches smelling blood. Now, Guan Shan seized the moment, leaping from the door. A silver flash streaked by, and the extremely sharp demon blade sliced through the rabbit's neck without resistance. A beta. Flesh, bones, and the eerie black tendons covering them were all split in half under the blade of the demon blade. This was the current state of the demon blade, with a base damage of 3,000, growing exponentially. The stronger the enemy, the faster it grew. With Guan Shan's thorough approach in the scenes, the speed of growth was like a rocket. Since obtaining it, the damage had more than doubled. Due to the unique material of the demon blade, Guan Shan had yet to encounter anything that could withstand a single strike from it, unless the enemy was unreachable. And so it was now. Guan Shan's unexpected strike directly decapitated the rabbit, but eerily, no blood flowed from the severed neck. The empty neck contained nothing, not even a spine, only a mass of writhing black worms. The rabbit's massive body fell to the ground, but its head continued to viciously bite the shadow clone's arm. The force from the falling body caused the head to tear off the shadow clone's arm and part of its body. 3,500. An even larger damage number appeared. Guan Shan was shocked to see that the shadow clone had almost half of its body bitten off. Instantly, half health. Damn, I underestimated it. This thing is too fierce. Guan Shan cursed, quickly equipping the shadow clone with a health rune, instructing it to stand aside and recover health. Although the shadow clone didn't have a normal human structure, the perspective was still controlled by Guan Shan. Watching himself lose half his body was a horrifying experience. Even though Guan Shan had experienced death twice, he still couldn't bear the feeling of being dismembered. This thing's damage is moderately high. If entangled, it could be dangerous. But it's not hard to dodge. Using the shadow clone's flexibility should make it easy to kill. Is this the breakthrough task? Just this. Guan Shan slashed the corpse twice more, formulating a strategy in his mind. Now, he was no longer the novice of his first breakthrough task. Even facing unknown monsters, he could fight methodically. This was the composure of an experienced player. I'll achieve a no damage, cough, cough, at least a somewhat cool clear this time, right? Guan Shan's eyes lit up, noticing a glowing point on the corpse. A dropped item. Since reaching a higher level, ordinary monsters rarely dropped items. This rabbit's difficulty clearly didn't reach elite monster levels, so it was surprising to see a drop. Has the simulator turned kind? Even giving more supplies? Guan Shan picked it up, only to find it was another note, his face immediately falling in disappointment. Note. Content, do not disturb the rabbits, because they are all from one nest. Description, when you see this line, you should start running. Guan Shan. He calmly held the note and looked up, seeing the rabbits in the partitions standing up, poking their heads out, and staring at him with those 4 eerie eyes. In this rabbit enclosure, there were at least 5 or 6 partitions, and each partition contained at least 2 or 3 rabbits. Damn it. Guan Shan's face twitched as he ran without hesitation. 1 rabbit could be ambushed, 2 could be kite, 3 could be gorilla attacked, but a dozen rabbits, he could only run. Bang. The entire enclosure door was burst open, and the rabbits swarmed out, emitting extremely mentally disturbing laughter, pouncing towards Guan Shan. Simulator, damn you. Guan Shan nearly lost his soul, immediately activating gravity control, pressing down with his hand to collapse the entire enclosure. But those rabbits were not so easily killed. Blood-red eyes reappeared in the dust. Taking advantage of this, Guan Shan pulled out the map and saw that the nearest place was the elephant enclosure. Gritting his teeth, he released Android 47 and split up with the shadow clone to divert some of the rabbits, but the ultimate goal was the same place. He looked at his backpack, deciding to make a big move. Damn it, we're going to fight sooner or later, let's do it all together. Something's wrong? Someone has broken into warehouse No. 3. A courier rushed into the office in a hurry. Inside the office, 2 people were seated, an elderly man in a security uniform and a bald middle-aged man in a suit. If manager Zhang Xinglong were here, he would surely recognize these 2 individuals. This was the southwest branch of Free Logistics. The bald middle-aged man was Qin Yang, Zhang Xinglong's peer and the head of this branch. The elderly man in the security uniform was the B-level elemental esper, Water Coffin, Fang Lu, whom Zhang Xinglong had been eager to transfer. This guy was nearly skeletal, looking as if he was at death's door. His face was covered with age spots and wrinkles, with yellowish, cloudy eyes, loose bags under his eyes, and dark skin, making him look like a walking corpse. He sat silently in the chair, eyes vacant. To anyone, he looked as if he already had 1 foot in the grave, at an age where he should be lying on a hospital bed with a breathing machine. What happened? Qin Yang stood up abruptly. Isn't warehouse number 3 surrounded by alarms and surveillance? How could anyone get in? The alarms he mentioned were not ordinary alarms. All the surveillance and alarms were connected to a heavy weapons system that would immediately start shooting if triggered, unless someone entered along a specific path. These paths acted as de facto passwords, changing daily, known only to the warehouse staff. Could there be an inside man? Qin Yang squinted at the reporting employee, who broke out in a cold sweat and hurriedly said, No, warehouse number 3 is scheduled for transfer tomorrow. Today, during the handover, there was no personnel on guard, and the outer alarm system was fully sealed. But the person appeared out of nowhere inside the warning zone. A spatial ability user. Qin Yang's face darkened. Another pest eyeing this shipment? Or did the seller leak information? He turned to the computer, pulling up the surveillance footage. The screen showed the warehouse area, where a figure wearing a clown mask and holding a long knife was cautiously moving forward, with a shadow ahead of him scouting the path. But whether it was the figure or the shadow, both followed a specific path. A path that perfectly avoided all alarm-triggering spots. It was hard to believe they didn't have prior knowledge. Qin Yang's face darkened, and he slammed the table. Sending people over now is too late. If it's a spatial esper, they could transfer all the goods instantly. This shipment is a loss for us. This shipment in warehouse number 3 was very special. It wasn't a pan-spirit object but a kind of spirit creature. This spirit creature, named Yarn, looked like a tangled ball of yarn, with each strand covered in tiny teeth. It had a peculiar trait called augmented. When this creature encountered other living multicellular organisms, regardless of the type, it would replicate itself. However, this replication only occurred once per organism. Thus, the staff in warehouse number 3 was kept to a minimum, relying on the weapons system for security, strictly disinfecting, and avoiding presence in the warehouse to prevent further replication. As long as its contact with living beings was controlled, the creature's own power was not a threat, allowing it to be captured and sold. This self-replicating ability piqued the interest of many. If auctioned on the black market, it could fetch a fortune. Wait, manager. The employee stammered. He doesn't seem to be here to steal the goods. Then what else could he be here for? Qin Yang had just formed this question in his mind when he saw the shadow on the monitor rush straight into the storage area without a pause, then lead a yarn out and cut it. Oh right, these creatures had a strong imitation tendency, following and mimicking actions that interested them. For this reason, they had placed an immobile toy in the warehouse to keep these creatures quiet. But now, everything was disrupted by this intruder. Qin Yang fell silent. He watched the masked youth on the screen turn and run, followed by the yarns trying to rush out. The halved yarn on the ground grew another yarn from its fallen head. Replication? Fortunately, the original body died, and the yarn created by contact with the masked man replaced the original, not increasing the number. Things were still under control at this point. Inside the warehouse, there were safety measures. Qin Yang could initiate the incineration process from the button beside the computer to ensure the yarns didn't escape. Boom. The masked youth in the surveillance extended his hand downward, and the entire warehouse collapsed. The installed circuits were destroyed along with it. Qin Yang's outstretched hand froze in midair, his eyes glazed over. Damn it. Feng Lu, who had been watching silently, suddenly leaned in, staring at the screen. Gravity manipulation, telekinesis, or pure destruction. He seemed to come alive, his once lifeless eyes filled with an eerie light. Qin Yang took a deep breath, touching his bald head. He didn't touch the building itself, so it's unlikely to be destruction. Telekinesis or gravity, but to achieve this with telekinesis would require an A-level power. Doesn't look like it. Must be gravity. Feng Lu murmured. Gravity. Such a rare ability. It's been years since a gravity esper appeared. Who is this guy? Watching the yarns chasing the masked youth on the monitor, Qin Yang felt his career was at stake. He immediately ordered all unrelated staff along the route to evacuate. Who? I want to know too. Qin Yang gritted his teeth. Let me find out who caused this trouble. Damn, is he coming our way? Qin Yang gasped, seeing the masked youth navigate the free logistics branch map as if familiar with it. This was truly what the hell is this? Feng Lu squinted, his hoarse, old voice slow and deliberate. Bring over the staff who previously handled the yarn. Let me see just how strong gravity manipulation can be. Guan Shan sprinted towards the elephant enclosure marked on the map. Bang, bang, bang. 47 clumsily followed orders, moving while attacking the rabbits. The air cannon could take out a rabbit with each shot, but it overheated after one shot and required about 20 seconds to cool down. During the cooldown period, 47 was quickly surrounded by 3 or 4 rabbits, all biting at its neck, arms, and legs. However, the rabbits had evidently bitten off more than they could chew this time. 47 only mimicked a human appearance but was essentially a steel-forged android. This android, with an impressive 40,000 health points, wasn't afraid of the rabbit's bites. Its defense was terrifyingly high, but its intelligence was insufficient to deal with the agile rabbits, significantly delaying its movement. It could only wait for the air cannon to cool down, then deal with the rabbits one by one. The rabbits, lacking higher intelligence, found 47 an easy target and all rushed to attack it. Guan Shan and the shadow clone felt the pressure ease and quickly reached the elephant enclosure. But the situation was dire, as they were gradually surrounded by thick fog, even though the sky was still bright and sunny, with cicadas chirping and a gentle breeze blowing. This was an entirely unnatural scene. Once fully inside, the dense fog severely limited visibility, making it hard to see more than a meter ahead. In such an environment, the chirping of cicadas and the sharp laughter of the rabbits sounded particularly eerie. Guan Shan had to stop, warily pulling out the nuclear-powered flashlight. Click. The flashlight turned on, instantly illuminating the path ahead, cutting through the fog. The light revealed a half-open iron gate surrounded by barbed wire, resembling a concentration camp rather than a zoo. Guan Shan should have cautiously explored before entering, but with a bunch of rabbits on his tail, he couldn't afford to stop, so he rushed in. He didn't forget to send the shadow clone ahead to clear the path, with 47 bringing up the rear while he stayed in the middle. Clear division of labor. Once the shadow clone entered, Guan Shan sprinted to the iron gate and activated secret behind the door, becoming invisible. This wasn't cowardice, just tactics. Guan Shan calmly stood by the gate, watching the rabbits chase the shadow clone and 47, then handed the flashlight and demon blade to the shadow clone, starting remote control. The shadow clone led the way. The ground was covered with grass and trees, with no other buildings or creatures in sight, resembling a desolate wilderness. Arnobi. Behind them, 47's health had dropped to half, while the number of rabbits had halved, providing Guan Shan with nearly 50,000 experience points. Soon, the shadow clone spotted a solitary 3-story building and sensed a hint of danger. Above, the shadow clone looked up and saw a whale leaping out of the fog. Guan Shan was dumbfounded. You call this an elephant? Information on the creature appeared before him. Elephant whale sea, leave 26. Health, 200,000. Description: when you see an elephant swimming in the water, don't doubt your eyes, because at least it won't fly. Guan Shan inwardly yelled, but it's flying. A massive, silent whale leaped out of the fog, a real whale, at least in outline. The whale had no barnacles or other parasites, only countless eyes. These eyes protruded from its body with chunks of flesh as bases, all human eyes. Its whiskers were tentacles like those on the rabbits, writhing madly but much larger in scale. The flashlight in the shadow clone's hand was the only light source, spreading a small inverted triangle of brightness upwards, while the fog, like rolling white waves, covered everything, including the building and most of the whale's body. The leaping whale was at least several hundred meters tall. Compared to the whale, the building seemed even smaller than one of its whiskers. This terrifyingly huge creature leaped from the fog, hovering in midair as if it were swimming in the sea. Seen from this angle, the nearly motionless whale in the fog looked like an absurd painting, with a peculiar beauty. But its whiskers were not so friendly. They immediately showed a fierce attack intent, striking at the shadow clone. The whiskers were as thick as houses. Being hit wasn't a joke, even 47 would be crushed to death. Boom! The whisker struck down, displacing the fog with a thunderous sound. The shadow clone dashed forward to dodge, and Guan Shan had 47 lure the rabbits under the whisker. The shadow clone and 47 crossed paths under the whisker. The shadow clone swiftly decapitated the rabbits, biting 47, then slid to safety. But 47 wasn't so lucky, being clumsy. It had a leg crushed. Great, the shadow clone's arm just healed, and now 47 lost a leg. Guan Shan felt uncertain, their combat strength severely reduced. But 47 had no sense of pain and didn't seem to consider it a problem. 47 expressionlessly looked at its leg, then pushed forward with its hands. The air cannon detached from its palm, the barrel standing upright on its chest, and 47 began running on its hands. Guan Shan. He knew 47's intelligence was problematic, but he didn't expect its thought process to be so unique. Still, this thinking was indeed an android's way. For an android, a humanoid appearance was just that. Functionally, using hands to walk was simple. No legs? Use hands instead. Guan Shan facepalmed, watching 47 run even more agilely on its hands, falling into deep thought. Was 47's thinking problematic, or was his own, running on its hands? 47 remained agile. Without the air cannon's barrel attached to its arm, it fought even more effectively. Guan Shan felt that his commands might have been restricting it. Although its intelligence was questionable, 47 seemed to possess a strong learning ability. If allowed to self-learn in a specific direction, it might better utilize its android capabilities. However, it was too early to consider such things. After this dungeon, who knew if 47 would still be intact? Boom, boom, boom. Guan Shan watched as the remaining tendrils joined the fight, rolling and crushing across the ground. The shadow clone and 47 could only dodge frantically, attacking opportunistically. The tendrils' tips split and transformed into various forms: tentacles, bone spurs, claws, each with unique and relentless attack methods, overwhelming in their variety. These tendrils were individually classified as monsters by the simulator, all under the prefix whale whisker, with varying suffixes. The tendrils ranged from level 15 to 19, primarily lower levels. Some dealt high damage, while others were extremely agile. Though the shadow clone was nimble and 47 was sturdy, they were still at a disadvantage, forced to slowly wear down the tendrils. Using the mindless rabbits to create opportunities, victory was only a matter of time. However, the whale above remained motionless, like a Damocles sword hanging overhead. The terrifying part was that this wasn't even the boss. Guan Shan cursed inwardly, increasing difficulty shouldn't be like this. The quality and quantity of these monsters surpassed the first breakthrough mission. Recalling his first breakthrough mission, Guan Shan realized it was tough, but the simulator had been lenient. At least there were common mobs to farm for experience back then. Now, any random enemy could fight like an elite from back then. Seeing his invisibility time running out, Guan Shan glanced at the 3-story building and the map, narrowing his eyes. From the entrance to here, if the map is correct, we should be in the aquarium. Meaning they weren't in the elephant enclosure but the aquarium? Guan Shan raised an eyebrow and took out the remaining eye seed. This tiny item had been kept in his pocket due to its small size. He had already turned one eye seed into a blossoming eye cluster. Since its retained gaze was useless, Guan Shan sold it to the shop. Perhaps this little thing could solve the visibility issue caused by the fog? The eye seed didn't actually need soil and water, just gazes. And for gazes, Guan Shan looked at the countless eyes on the whale, raising an eyebrow. Weren't those all gazes? Guan Shan retrieved the health rune from the shadow clone and replaced it with the eye seed. The demon blade in the shadow clone's hand whirled, finally cutting off a tendril after continuous strikes. It then threw the eye seed into the air with a burst of energy. A with grave beta. Simultaneously, the shadow clone shouted, "Taste my righteous poison dart." Whoosh. A D-level physical class enhancement type was the peak level a normal human could achieve through training, easily surpassing Olympic champions in all events, including shot put. So what would happen if a B-level physical class enhancement type Esper threw something with all their might? The shadow clone provided an answer. The tiny seed, propelled by tremendous force, accelerated to break the sound barrier, creating a white arc in the air with a long trail of vapor. In an instant, the seed approached the whale. This remarkable scene naturally caught all the eyes' attention, drawing their gazes to the seed. Many tendrils also curled back, trying to intercept it. Guan Shan witnessed the progress bar, which usually took days to fill, max out in an instant. The tiny seed sprouted, growing into a sapling, branching out, and eventually producing numerous eyeballs. The eye seed became a blossoming eye cluster. Guan Shan chose to use it, feeling his perspective shift, leaving his body and moving into the air. The whale's perspective? Overlooking everything, he felt a sense of dominance, thankful he wasn't afraid of heights. Guan Shan immediately noticed that the fog-covered area was only around here, and their current location was indeed the non-existent aquarium. From this vantage point, the battlefield became clear. With a bird's-eye view and the shadow clone's perspective, the situation became apparent. Previously chaotic scenes now organized. Guan Shan squinted, quickly identifying weaknesses in the tendrils' attacks, and commanded 47, break through here. 47, with only about 10,000 health left, had become increasingly adept at combat, getting injured less frequently and stabilizing. Bang! Following the command, 47 blasted a path with an air cannon and charged forward. The tendrils, of course, pursued relentlessly. Above, the blossoming eye cluster was being crushed by the tendrils, its eyeballs turning bloodshot and swollen, about to burst. Guan Shan's vision wavered, the image distorting. Once the blossoming eye cluster was crushed, its effect would cease. Immediate action was necessary. Guan Shan took out the blindfolded doll and handed it to the shadow clone. All eyes, you are fated. Guan Shan set the cursed target of the doll to the whale and had a sudden idea, maybe merging similar items, this could be like connect the dots. Whoosh. The shadow clone threw the blindfolded doll with great force again. Due to the previous sneak attack, the tendrils recoiled instinctively, appearing furious. Having been fooled once, the tendrils immediately shattered the doll. The doll's effect was to share its state with the cursed target. In an instant, the massive whale, caught off guard, developed huge cracks and then shattered into pieces. Massive chunks of flesh fell from the sky, blood pouring like waterfalls. More horrifyingly, the whale's putrid innards spilled out, splattering on the ground, creating an unbearable and terrifying scene. The wounds matched those on the doll, meaning the culprit was itself. True self-destruction, if faced with an enemy with extremely high health, there would always be a way to utilize a mechanism to kill it. This was a design rule followed by both horror games and regular games. The horror game simulator was no exception. When encountering the massive apartment monster previously, Guan Shan had understood this principle. Although it seemed to have a lot of health, most of it didn't need to be manually taken down. By finding its weak point, core, or using other items, the monster's actual difficulty remained within a reasonable range. This was why Guan Shan wasn't overly panicked when he saw the whale with 200,000 health in front of him. According to the current monster spawning mechanism of the simulator, low health and high-level monsters are the truly terrifying ones. The higher the health, the more stable it is. Guan Shan knew that the simulator would not set up an unavoidable death scenario. In games, once the mechanism was understood, everything could be resolved. The balance between a monster's level and health was typically maintained. With Guan Shan as a reference, his current 20th level health was just over 10,000, similar to Tao Luo at level 10, but his attack and defense attributes, along with items, could now easily kill 10 Tao Luo. Therefore, encountering a low-health monster at this level meant its attack and defense attributes would be several times or even dozens of times higher than ordinary monsters. That was the real danger. Upon seeing the massive whale and its corresponding information, Guan Shan began thinking about how to deal with it. Weak point? Couldn't see it. Mechanism? Unknown. Item? Well, that could work. This creature didn't seem very intelligent, and the recently acquired blindfolded doll from the Lucky Pot seemed like a suitable item. Who said cursed items had to be used personally? Typically, doing it yourself was for revenge, but Guan Shan had no grudge against this whale. He just wanted to kill it. Thus, having it kill itself was the best choice. The whale's body disintegrated midair, contributing 40,000 experience points. Guan Shan's shared vision with the whale ended, and he couldn't help but smirk. As expected, experience points for mechanism-based monsters are significantly reduced. Although this was already comparable to a regular boss, it was still paltry compared to its 200,000 health. At this point, Guan Shan's secret behind the door skill duration ended, and his figure reappeared beside the iron gate. As soon as the cooldown ended, he fully activated gravity control and flew towards the 3-story building. Whoosh! The approaching blood was pushed aside, like Moses parting the sea, dividing the blood-red ocean along Guan Shan's path. Meanwhile, the tendrils entangling 47 and the shadow clone didn't disintegrate like the whale but noticeably weakened, their surfaces wrinkling as if they lost much of their vitality. RAOES. The rabbits seemed to sense this and took the opportunity to pounce, laughing maniacally and biting the tendrils, turning 47 and the shadow clone into mere side characters. But Guan Shan wasn't idle. He immediately had 47 and the shadow clone finish off the weakened enemies. Whoever was winning, they would strike. After a while, eyes began to sprout on the tendrils. These weren't naturally grown like on the whale, but rather forced open wounds from which malevolent parasites peeked out, wrapped in thick black smoke, struggling to spread outward. Pop, pop, pop. More and more eyes appeared, eventually covering every tendril, blood flowing from the wounds over the eyes, leaving no gaps. Guan Shan understood at a glance, the doll's curse has taken effect. Whoever killed the doll would bear its resentment. The whale killed the doll, so it had to bear the consequences. With the whale dead, the tendrils had to bear it. The tendrils initially struggled, trying to crush the eyes, but soon stiffened, leaving only the writhing eyes. At a certain point, the eyes all froze, then exploded. Boom! The tendrils disintegrated into powder, revealing their hollow centers, filled with eyes, nothing of themselves remaining. Experience plus 8,000. Experience plus 6,000. Experience plus 7,000. Experience plus 9,000. Experience plus 10,000. Experience plus 8,000. Guan Shan watched a flood of experience points appear before him, totaling over 100,000 from the tendrils and rabbits combined. Instead of being happy, Guan Shan felt a sinking sensation. The strength and experience of breakthrough mission monsters indicated the attributes of the main monsters he would face next. Clearing elite monsters had already yielded 100,000 experience points, equivalent to all the experience he accumulated from level 10 to 20. This implied that from level 20 to 30, the experience gradient might be 100,000 per level. Monsters above level 15 had an average experience value of 6,000 to 8,000, equivalent to top-tier C-level espers. So, if he relied on killing low-level monsters, he would need to kill 10 C-level espers to level up once. With Yuhao team as a reference, they only had 3 C-level or higher espers. The thought alone made Guan Shan's scalp tingle. This was only level 20. How would he level up in the future? The only path was to kill bosses, making him a complete combat maniac in others' eyes. But only Guan Shan knew, he was forced into this. If he didn't kill monsters, he couldn't level up. Without leveling up, he couldn't beat the monsters. If he couldn't beat the monsters, he would die. Huff, there's no use thinking about it now. Let's complete the breakthrough mission first. Who knows where the simulator has sent me this time? Luckily, I remembered to wear a mask, so they shouldn't trace my identity. Guan Shan touched the mask of agony on his face, smirking. Ahead was the entrance to the 3-story building. Guan Shan stopped. 47 and the shadow clone joined him. The note at the beginning mentioned encountering elephants and rabbits, leaving only the aquarium. Therefore, the boss must be in the aquarium? Guan Shan switched back to the demon blade, approaching the flashing aquarium sign and the seemingly peaceful iron gate, hesitated, then kicked the door open. 100? A damage value popped up from behind the door. Guan Shan remained expressionless. It's not a proper door without a door trap. Avoid door traps by kicking the door. What is that? Seeing his trusted employee suddenly turn into a pile of corpses, Qin Yang was shocked, realizing the situation had turned dire. Indeed, the remaining employees, having lost their augmentation, quickly weakened and were then killed one by that strange bald man in a suit and the shadowy figure. Before this moment, the situation had been a stalemate. The employees they sent out, with the augmentation ability average distribution, had even maintained an advantage. Although Guan Shan was nowhere to be seen, his 2 companions were not in a winning position. The employee who was instantly dismembered possessed the special class ability average distribution, which, as the name suggests, allowed him to evenly distribute most objects and concepts, including strength. This employee connected with an item in their warehouse number 0, distributing her power to the other employees, making the originally unevenly skilled, and some even D-level, courier employees all around mid to late C-level. Under normal circumstances, this would have been sufficient for most situations. Once they eliminated the 2 companions, the suddenly missing person would have no choice but to show up. However, the shadowy figure had merely thrown 2 bizarre items, instantly reversing and collapsing the situation. Qin Yang, as the manager of free logistics, immediately connected the dots, exclaiming incredulously, those 2 items are both pan-spirit objects. How is that possible? Qin Yang couldn't accept it. Zhong Yang was connected to a warehouse No 0. He, acting as a conduit, should only be slightly lower in level than warehouse No 0. How could he be instantly killed? Sweat formed on Qin Yang's forehead. Does that guy possess an A-level pan-spirit object that can instantly kill, and used it here? This last part was what he found unacceptable. Recalling the shadowy figure's casual toss of that stone sculpture, without hesitation or reluctance, it seemed as if it was just an ordinary stone. The attitude implied that he had far more than one A-level pan-spirit object, available to use at any time. Thinking of this, Qin Yang's heart trembled. According to market value, such an item could fetch tens of billions. And it shattered here. Wait, warehouse no 0. Zhong Yang's death won't affect that, right? Qin Yang suddenly thought of this, shivering, and immediately picked up the office phone to call the duty room of warehouse no 0. Once connected, Qin Yang asked urgently, any abnormal situations? The duty officer sounded puzzled. No, everything is normal, manager. Did something happen? The warehouse alarm went off, indicating a danger status. Qin Yang's heart sank. This meant the items were trying to attack the warehouse. But he didn't panic, asking, what about the protective systems? They are still intact. Phew. Qin Yang breathed a sigh of relief and said, that's good. Increase the protection level to the highest, and the alarm will stop. Stay vigilant and report any changes immediately. Yes, sir. Qin Yang hung up and turned to Fang Lu, who had been calm throughout, coughing lightly. What do you think? Fang Lu stood up, stretching his fingers, the water droplets around them rising and falling. Interesting, I'll handle it. Qin Yang immediately said, if you need any assistance, just let us know. Fang Lu walked out. Activate all the building's fire sprinklers. SHHH. The sprinkler heads embedded in the hallway ceiling suddenly started spraying water, yet the smoke detectors remained inactive. To Guan Shan, it looked like the glass of the underwater tunnel had cracked, releasing streams of seawater. The aquarium was indeed a real aquarium. After dealing with several black uniformed staff, Guan Shan reached the underwater tunnel area. Incidentally, those staff all had aquatic heads. Some had octopus heads, their tentacles wriggling wildly. Others had toad heads, their bulging fish eyes glaring, with ashen, wrinkled skin and webbed limbs. Some looked like jellyfish, making Guan Shan want to pluck off their heads. Oh, Thailand bodies. In fact, he did just that. Though it was unclear how a long underwater tunnel existed in a 3-story building, this was the scene before Guan Shan. A semicircular glass dome separated the bottomless ocean outside, filled with countless marine creatures swimming past, large schools of sardines, and even coral reefs. The light came from the ground, illuminating only small areas around, making the ocean outside seem turbulent and terrifying. If such an aquarium existed in reality, I'd gladly buy a ticket to visit. Especially if it were with Xiao Shen, Guan Shen thought, then noticed a crack above. Of course, not if there are quality issues. Honestly, many people might have imagined the scenario of what if the glass breaks while visiting an underwater tunnel. When such a thing actually happens, the terrifying pressure is comparable to seeing a screw fall out of your roller coaster seat. Extremely frightening. Crack. The crack extended, spreading like a spider web. The water flow changed from spraying to gushing, increasing in volume. Ahead was an endless corridor, above was glass about to collapse. Guan Shan, soaked, wiped his face, took a deep breath, and activated gravity control, speeding up like an arrow, shooting forward. He temporarily put away 47 and the shadow clone. Retreat was not an option, a boss fight was coming up. He didn't want to be stuck in this illusion forever. No matter how terrifying or dangerous, he could only move forward. Bidu, bidu, bidu. The warehouse's alarm lights flashed red, while the thick metal egg-shaped protective device at the center had a large hole, remnants of limbs hanging from the gap. Blood covered the warehouse's walls and floor. All employees were dead, their bodies twisted and horrific. In the guard room at the entrance, the employee slumped over the desk, his head barely attached to his body, eyes wide open in death. Humming. A slender little girl in a white dress sat on the desk, her legs swinging, holding the phone to her face, speaking in a childish voice, mimicking the dead employee. Everything is fine. Yes. Strangely, Qin Yang heard the dead employee's voice. Click. She hung up, jumped off the desk, walked through the corpses, and reached the protective device. Tiptoeing, she set the display screen to the highest protection level, but the alarm kept blaring. The girl tilted her head. Weird, why doesn't it work? After fiddling for a while, she lost interest, turning her attention to the warehouse door, curiously approaching, peeking outside to find no one, then stepping into the corridor, disappearing into the darkness. Crack, crack, crack. The glass above continued to fracture, creating long cracks. Water sprayed out, forming water curtains. The ground was completely soaked, and the entire underwater tunnel was on the verge of collapse, as if it might cave in at any moment. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Guan Shan pushed his speed to the limit, breaking through the water curtains, flying forward. The duration of gravity control was only 60 seconds, after which it would enter a 10-second cooldown, drastically reducing his speed. Time was running out. Of course, the so-called limit now was just the maximum acceleration his body could handle, about 100 g, 10 times the early rocket acceleration. He was actually conserving most of his strength, constantly on guard for the potential collapse of the glass tunnel above. That was the greatest threat now. If he detected any collapse risk, he would immediately use gravity control to hold it up. Guan Shan stayed hyper-alert, monitoring the glass, but soon realized the problem wasn't the glass, it was the water. The water was flowing rapidly, which was normal, but the abnormal part was that most of it, instead of flowing down through the cracks, seemed to be flowing upstream. Yes, despite the chaotic appearance and the sound of breaking glass, deep within, there was a massive, unified current converging upwards. Guan Shan felt a sinking feeling. With his current level of perception, he couldn't be wrong. The water was flowing from all directions towards the top. Something was up there. Guan Shan alertly raised his head, eyes wide, holding his breath. The surging seawater appeared calm and deep, seemingly motionless from the outside. But Guan Shan could see a huge vortex forming within, with a shadow growing larger and larger. His scalp tingled. Realizing the danger, he sped up, but no matter how fast he moved forward, the shadow remained constant, showing no signs of decreasing. His eyelid twitched, quickly realizing the shadow wasn't following him but was instead growing larger. As the shadow expanded, its edge remained constant in Guan Shan's high-speed vision, as if the sea itself was enlarging. Realizing this, Guan Shan immediately turned to look further back. The whirlpool area in the sea had sunk into a shadow, but without any solid presence, the seawater remained, while the ink-like shadow spread quickly, like an ominous cloud pressing down on a city. At that moment, Guan Shan felt a malevolent gaze directed at him. An information panel appeared on the empty seawater. Boss Aquarium Waterform, Leave 29. Health, Hidden. Description: it's not just squids that love diving, there are friends too. Do you think you're being cute? Guan Shan's eyes widened in frustration. Where's the useful hint? What does this description even mean? The simulator not providing hints and even hiding the health bar was a bad sign. The sheer 9-level gap made Guan Shan feel a chill. A 9-level difference. This meant the opponent was not just B-level but nearly A-level, far beyond the recently promoted B-level Esper he encountered at the Wuhao team base. Guan Shan had needed Sun Han's help to defeat that Esper. Now, alone and without any special items, how could he possibly win? No matter what he thought, the shadow in the seawater quickly formed a funnel shape, with its sharp end breaking downward, rapidly creating more cracks in the already fragile glass. Our Nigerian Naira Oe. Crash. Water gushed down like a waterfall, about to flood everything. Startled, Guan Shan immediately used gravity control, putting all his remaining strength into blocking the gap. The usually effortless gravity control finally met its match. The weight of the seawater was overwhelming, and the pressure increased as he pushed upward. Guan Shan felt sure gravity control wouldn't hold for long. I have to hold on. The immense pressure made his veins bulge and eyes bloodshot. Even without pain, he felt his temples throbbing, his vision blurring. Come on, lift it. The cracked glass was forcefully pushed back up a bit. Seizing the moment, Guan Shan retracted the reverse gravity and applied it to himself, fleeing at a speed beyond his physical limits. Looking back, he saw the exit not far ahead. If I can just reach there. Boom. In the next instant, the tunnel behind collapsed. The shadow flowed downward like dirty water in a flushing toilet, spiraling into the tunnel, rushing towards Guan Shan with the roaring seawater. In the narrow tunnel, the overwhelming seawater, mixed with unknown debris, surged at Guan Shan. The sight, to Guan Shan, was akin to the iconic blood flood in The Shining. Not just terrifying, but a fear born from the sheer reality of imminent death. And now, Guan Shan was about tens of meters from the exit. Normally, just a second's span. Gravity control entered cooldown. Guan Shan plunged into the water. The moment he was submerged, a long-forgotten, deep-seated fear enveloped him, as the once-distant gaze felt like it was right behind him, almost touching him. The sensation was chilling. Now it was truly a race against time. Guan Shan's heart pounded, adrenaline surged. Prepared, he held his breath, diving deeper, and immediately pulled out the defective serum. The product of a failed syringe experiment. Effect, immediately reduces maximum health by 60%. If max health drops below 4,000, death occurs instantly. If above 4,000, self-healing drops significantly. Crack. Guan Shan instantly opened the serum vial, the dark liquid spreading out. The dark defective serum spread in the water like ink, quickly covering the entire area around Guan Shan. Simultaneously, he swam with all his might, not wasting a second. As he swam, Guan Shan pulled out the demon blade again. When the chilling sensation temporarily subsided, he glanced back to see the water behind him had turned completely black. Within that darkness, the water was churning, stirring the inky liquid as if a creature inside was struggling madly. Bubbles rose, accompanied by a hissing sound, as if something was being corroded by strong acid. The defective serum lived up to its terrifying appearance, its effect astonishing. In Guan Shan's vision, the previously hidden boss health bar appeared. Health, 30,000, minus 60%. This meant the boss originally had 75,000 health, an unbelievable amount for a level 29 monster. This boss's health template was extremely high offense and low defense. Its attack power might be so high that one mistake could instantly kill Guan Shan. If before, Guan Shan could use the shadow clone to test the waters, now he couldn't afford it. Any hesitation could cost him his life. Guan Shan's eyelid twitched, the raging currents now seeming like a blender full of blades. He quickly moved away, sensing the water's flow changing. He immediately used the innocent child's drawing. The 5mx5m space transformed into a crude blue ocean scene, with Guan Shan suddenly sporting a crooked swim ring and a simple diving mask. Clearly, the child who drew this couldn't distinguish between swimming and diving. The important part was that within this 3-minute duration space, Guan Shan was virtually invincible, provided he didn't leave the space. As soon as he activated the item, the inky water dispersed, freeing whatever invisible presence was in the water. Guan Shan felt the malevolent gaze return, more intense than before, as if it wanted to flay him alive. Not knowing how painful the defective serum was, it had instantly cut the opponent's health by 60%, suggesting it must have been excruciating. Guan Shan stayed alert, watching the water's movements, holding his breath and keeping to the center of the child's drawing area. Splash. Next, he felt the water pressing in from all sides, like squeezing a sponge. His skin dented, bones and muscles felt stabbing pain, nearly forcing him to exhale and create bubbles. R.A. Thailand body. Guan Shan stabilized himself, realizing, damn, the child's drawing can only nullify physical damage, but not the pressure from the water. Moreover, while the drawing lasts 3 minutes, I might not last that long. He already felt the discomfort of suffocation. Though his body was incredibly strong, he couldn't survive without breathing, and he had to keep his muscles tense to withstand the pressure, always ready to move. If he had to chase or flee, he'd likely drown within a minute from lack of oxygen. The environment was too unfavorable. The pressure around him increased, his skin began to hemorrhage, veins bulging on his forehead and arms, making him look ferocious. Soon, the capillaries in his skin burst, turning into clouds of blood swirling in the water. -1 -1 -1-1. A string of damage notifications appeared before Guan Shan, the numbers increasing. The waterform boss avoided the child's drawing area, wary, trying to wear Guan Shan down. His vision darkened, the threat of death more terrifying than any ghost. The power gap is too big. I need to find a way to break this. Desperate, Guan Shan's gaze fell on a floating glass shard, reflecting his image. A shard capable of reflection. Could it count as a mirror? I have to gamble. Guan Shan took out the mirror shard. Effect: when this shard faces another mirror, an infinite loop space forms between them, lasting 10 seconds before disappearing. Each mirror can only be used once. There's a chance to summon entities from within the mirror. He observed the surroundings, waiting for the water's flow to align with the shards, adjusting his position to the edge of the child's drawing area. As seconds ticked by, the shard's reflection flickered, and Guan Shan kicked off, rushing out. Now, he activated the last use of Heart of Slaughter, gaining temporary invincibility against any sneak attacks from the waterform boss. As expected, leaving the child's drawing area, he felt the water attacking, transforming into countless teeth, trying to penetrate his skin. Without invincibility, he'd have been shredded. This was only the beginning. Once Heart of Slaughter's invincibility ended, he still hadn't found a suitable position. Sweating, Guan Shan switched to the Casadagarbha statue shield. Its shield value matched his health, totaling 12,000. In the next moment, it shattered. Crack. The shield breaking chilled Guan Shan's heart. 12,000 shield points, gone in an instant. He immediately felt the power that shattered the shield. His body twisted painfully, muscles contorted, water invading like thousands of maggots breeding in his pores. Without pain, he might have screamed. His body was mangled, blood and flesh mixing in the water, a gruesome scene. But just before losing his vision, Guan Shan aimed, raising the mirror shard. Activate. He mentally commanded, feeling his head ready to explode, desperate to escape. Luckily, he was right. The glass counted as a mirror. The item activated, creating a loop between the glass and mirror shard, freezing the water. I'm really scared. Feng Lu's ability, named Water Prison, ranked 67th on the victim list. The elemental class, despite its name, wasn't simply divided into earth, wind, water, and fire or the 5 elements. It had countless subdivisions. The main types could be classified into control, weather, and conceptual categories. However, the foundational trait of the elemental class was that it started at B level. Because of this trait, elemental class abilities were naturally ranked higher on the victim list. Feng Lu, despite being a B level for so many years and having no hope of reaching A level, was undoubtedly powerful and dangerous. Being at B level for so long meant he had a deep understanding of his ability and rich combat experience. Moreover, at 76 years old, Feng Lu was extremely rare among espers, whose average age was under 25. In other words, he was very good at surviving. Or rather, he had various ways to kill his enemies while preserving his own life. But perhaps due to surviving for so long, he couldn't help but develop some restless ambitions. I've survived for so long, my enemies are almost dead, and I've been at the peak of B level for many years. Why should I still be afraid and cautious, judged by others? This was Feng Lu's mindset when he decided to take action. Although this intruder seemed to be a rare gravity esper with many tricks, Feng Lu believed he was not inferior. In a few days, he would be asked to deal with an esper possessing at least an A-level pan-spirit object, and he didn't want any trouble in his own territory. Moreover, this person's raw strength was clearly lacking, otherwise, he wouldn't rely on so many pan-spirit objects. Things went as Feng Lu expected. The intruder was just a paper tiger, weak when confronted head-on. Feng Lu's ability allowed him to create a completely controlled space in a sufficiently humid environment, where he could move freely through the water. This ability's danger was unquestionable. In pure water, Feng Lu was practically invincible. However, under normal circumstances, he could only achieve the minimum humidity needed to use his ability. For example, 2 minutes ago, when the hallway's fire sprinklers activated, the humidity reached a usable level, and he had to break the surrounding water pipes. Feng Lu stood at the hallway entrance, watching the intruder frantically trying to leave, and sneered, "So you're not entirely stupid." He touched the falling water droplets, instantly transforming into a water phantom, "But I won't give you the chance." Feng Lu lost his human form, leading the water curtain, gathering all the water into an enclosed space, trapping Guan Shan within. Water was his weapon. He watched the panicking, seemingly clueless masked youth, gradually increasing the pressure. But then, instead of running, Guan Shan opened a vial of some liquid. Feng Lu initially didn't realize the seriousness, thinking poison couldn't harm him. He could just use water to wrap and move it away, avoiding any damage. AO Thailand bot. After all, who could harm water? But he quickly realized he was wrong. The liquid's penetration and diffusion were incredible. As the water touched the liquid, it couldn't shake it off. During the flow, the liquid spread along the water, uncontrollable, as if it had its own will. Before Feng Lu could react, the dark, ominous liquid had polluted a large area of water. Alarmed, Feng Lu summoned more water, but the darkness kept growing, rapidly approaching him. And then, it touched him. The silent scream triggered a water frenzy. To Feng Lu, it felt like a nightmare. The dark liquid merged into the water like mercury seeping into skin cracks. Intense pain and itching assaulted Feng Lu's mind. In all these years as water, he'd never experienced such agony. The liquid separated the water molecules, and for Feng Lu, it was like being dismembered. Worse, his consciousness, merged with the water, also fragmented. As the water split, his mind shattered into countless pieces, like being torn apart. What is this stuff? Feng Lu felt his body and mind split into thousands of parts, sensing each other's presence but unable to focus thoughts. Thousands of minds were born, with the predominant thought being his initial killing intent. In simple terms, he went from one being to countless cells. Most of these cells lost rationality and couldn't determine the target of their killing intent, starting to attack each other. In a moment, half of the cells and the defective serum perished together. If Feng Lu had a physical form, he'd be red with rage. Those were his cells. Now he'd lost half of them. If he reverted, his condition would be unimaginable. "I'll kill you." Feng Lu's only thought was to kill this intruder, at any cost. Fortunately, the surviving cells were more controllable, finally reuniting. Under the immense pressure, even with another panspirit object, Guan Shan could barely hold on. Seeing the blood mist, Feng Lu's hatred deepened. The water swept everything, and the nearly suffocating Guan Shan suddenly revealed a shard. The flashing light froze in Feng Lu's vision, and everything around him stopped. "What is this? Kill him now." Feng Lu, enraged, saw the child's drawing field dissipate and charged, but he couldn't move. After struggling, Feng Lu felt a chill behind him, a cold sensation crawling up. Then, cold fingers grabbed him. Feng Lu froze, trembling. This was impossible. He had no physical form. How could he be grabbed, and who was behind him? What was it? Dash. As the mirror shard took effect, Guan Shan used the cooled-down gravity control to escape the water. Splash. Bang. Guan Shan rushed forward, feeling the water's buoyancy vanish, crashing onto the floor and rolling twice. Cough, cough. He coughed, spitting blood, his chest tight and burning. Guan Shan equipped the health rune, stood up, finding himself in an office area. Touching his wounds, he saw blood and felt lingering fear. Damn, my organs must be pulp. How am I still alive? Am I even human? His health bar showed double digits, but the health rune was restoring it. Guan Shan looked back at the turbulent underwater world, took a deep breath, and pulled out the ability extractor. Ability extractor, 3/3. Effect, extracts a temporary skill from the target, does not occupy a skill slot, disappears after use. Description, gimme that. This was an item Guan Shan had obtained from Drone B1, capable of granting a one-time use skill, similar to the neural magnetic field he had received before, but with an even shorter duration. If Guan Shan was still in the dark, using this would undoubtedly be a gamble, as he wouldn't know all the boss's abilities, making it like a lottery draw. But now, he understood that most of these monsters were likely espers. Since an esper typically had only one ability, the process became simpler. Essentially, using this item would extract the most prominent ability. And at this moment, Guan Shan needed the ability that allowed the boss to move freely in water. In the previous fight, Guan Shan had strength and weapons but couldn't use them effectively because the boss was controlling the environment. Facing a monster 9 levels higher in its advantageous terrain was a fool's errand, so he needed to use the ability extractor to level the playing field. You used the ability extractor. You received the temporary skill, water form. Water form. Effect, during the skill duration, you can move freely in water and are not affected by negative water environment effects. Lasts 180 seconds. Description, maybe you can dive deep and catch jellyfish with SpongeBob, but make sure to keep track of the time. Who would use this skill to catch jellyfish? And with only 3 minutes, how could anyone dive deep enough and still make it back? Guan Shan mentally retorted at the description, but at least he had the skill he needed. Now, the enemy's advantage was nullified. Guan Shan exhaled, feeling the time was right, looking at the still water. The boss's health bar had been dropping rapidly as if under attack. The initial 50,000 health had dropped to 30,000. It seemed the boss had experienced something while being held. But Guan Shan had only used the mirror shard to control the boss. Wait, is that a shadow? Guan Shan squinted, noticing a faint, elongated shadow in the water, its shape unclear in the flowing currents. He remembered that the mirror shard had a bonus effect of potentially summoning entities from the mirror. Who or what might be in the mirror was unknown. However, Guan Shan had a vague idea. In the apartment scenario, the shadows guiding him to the safe house were two black figures. One large and one small, likely the mother and daughter who died at Qin Diguang's hands. If there were any other entities in the mirror shard, it would probably be them. Guan Shan cautiously approached the sealed water area, waiting for the cooldown to end. The boss's health continued to drop, slowing down around 25,000 as the time arrived. Boom! The frozen water surged violently. At that moment, Guan Shan reached out to touch the cold water. He vaguely saw the shadows solidify into two figures. A with tilde. The larger one was a long-haired female silhouette, holding the smaller shadow's hand. She nodded slightly towards Guan Shan. Instinctively, Guan Shan nodded back, then activated the water form skill, his body dissolving into water, merging with the flow. In the water, Guan Shan found himself no longer restricted, breathing and moving freely. With the skill's perspective, it felt like entering another dimension. He finally saw the boss's true form. In the water was a creature resembling a fishman. Not a mermaid, but a fishman. Its upper half was fish-like, while the lower half was human. The fish part was shark-like, with a mouthful of sharp teeth, scales raised, and beneath them, yellow pustules and thin black tendrils. Its eyes were vertical pupils like a snake's. The lower half had two human legs, but instead of feet, there were two fish tails, appearing not on, with exposed fish bones. However, the bones within were human feet. Its structure was similar to the rabbit's, as if a person had been forcefully inserted into the fish skin. Guan Shan began to understand the zoo scenario's meaning. There were no real rabbits, elephants, or aquariums, only people. From a horror game perspective, this uncanny detail was spot on. But this was also the reality Guan Shan faced. Beneath these monstrous facades, they were all human. Perhaps this was the true horror game. Clearing his mind, Guan Shan charged with the demon blade, catching the boss off guard, slicing off its arm. The boss only managed to dodge slightly, its face filled with shock, then it roared at Guan Shan though its expression was unclear. Feng Lu was utterly shocked, almost losing his composure. Impossible. Impossible. The earlier terrifying events hadn't made him lose his composure, but now, he was genuinely breaking down. How can this be? He's using my ability. Feng Lu felt his understanding shatter. Isn't he a gravity esper? No, he has object conjuring, so he must be spatial class, and his physical strength isn't weak. Does he have a copying special class ability too? Confused, he lost his advantage, retreating under Guan Shan's relentless attacks. In the final moments, a thought flashed in Feng Lu's mind. These diverse abilities resembled descriptions he had heard before. Another district's free logistics manager had recently asked him to deal with a multi-esper. That person was a physical and spatial class. Wait, is he Guan Shan? Bang! Feng Lu was thrown out of the water curtain, rolling on the ground, struggling to get up. One question echoed in his mind, was Guan Shan here to kill him in advance? Guan Shan raised his blade to kill the boss, but the ceiling lights flickered. Then he heard a child's voice. Hey, big brother, what are you doing? A little girl in a dress, barefoot, appeared from the corner, curiously looking at him, her bright eyes reflecting Guan Shan's figure. You have encountered an NPC. Little girl? Leave. Health. Description, a little girl who seems to have gotten separated from her family in the zoo. Please proceed with caution. Guan Shan's heart skipped a beat, and he silently complained to himself, if she's just a lost little girl, why would I need to be cautious? In a zoo filled with monsters, a normal-looking little girl was anything but normal. If she were truly a helpless little girl, she would have been torn apart by the escaped rabbits long ago. Moreover, the intense fight between Guan Shan and the boss had left the entire underwater tunnel in shambles, as if it had been ravaged by a tsunami. Yet this little girl acted as if she hadn't noticed anything, showing no fear and instead asking, "What are you doing?" This wasn't innocence, it was deliberate ignorance. Given that the monsters were actually humans underneath, the reverse could imply that this little girl in the real world was a true monster. Guan Shan scrutinized the girl, noting that the furry ears on her head, seemingly part of a hair accessory, were not clips or headbands but appeared real. She had no human ears. Guan Shan heightened his vigilance, lowering his blade to the unconscious fishman boss's throat, ready to strike the final blow. He coughed twice, carefully asking in a gentle tone, "Little girl, where did you come from? Did you get separated from your family?" Thankfully, his journalistic professionalism remained intact, allowing him to control his emotions and sound even gentler than a kindergarten teacher. Simultaneously, Guan Shan's gaze subtly shifted downward, spotting dark red, sticky blood on the girl's otherwise pale and delicate feet. In the dim light, it wasn't very clear, but Guan Shan was too familiar with blood. The blood was slowly spreading in the puddle on the floor. It was easy to imagine what areas this little girl had traversed. The girl bit her finger, thought for a moment, then pointed down the corridor. "I came from over there." Guan Shan looked in that direction. The corridor ended in darkness, with a window around the corner. Through the fog outside, he could faintly see a building with flashing red lights and hear distant alarms. He mentally compared the layout and realized it matched the lion enclosure marked on the map. Guan Shan's expression stiffened. If she came from one of the enclosures, she was likely an animal in the zoo. Considering her appearance, she might be a lion. But she wasn't classified as a monster, rather an NPC, meaning she didn't harbor ill intent towards Guan Shan, at least not yet. The girl continued, I'm looking for my family. Many strange adults tried to stop me, but Fifei wasn't afraid. She defeated them all. As she spoke, she earnestly waved her small fists, looking harmlessly adorable. It wasn't defeated, she must have killed them all. Guan Shan swallowed hard, giving an awkward but polite smile, so your name is Fifei. The girl nodded, then looked down at the dying fishman, asking, so, big brother, are you looking for your family too? Why did you do this to the fish? Cold sweat formed on Guan Shan's back. He felt that a wrong answer might lead to him being defeated like those strange adults. He glanced at his health bar, seeing it had recovered less than half, no chance of winning. With most of his items and skills on cooldown, even using time stop would only buy him a few seconds to escape, with no chance to turn the tide. After a moment's thought, Guan Shan forced a smile and said, yes, I'm looking for my family too. We're playing house. I'm playing the hero, and the fish is the demon king, so I have to defeat the demon king. The girl looked up at him, her voice soft, can I play too? Guan Shan. Can I refuse? No, refusing might lead straight to a bad ending. Taking a deep breath, Guan Shan said, of course you can. The girl's eyes lit up, and she cheered, then I want to be the demon king. Guan Shan's smile froze. Danger? He felt like a red warning sign was flashing above his head. MMP? Why does it feel like I'm about to lose from the start? The girl seemed to sense Guan Shan's hesitation and disappointment. Her tone saddened. Big brother doesn't like Fifei either? Just like other adults who don't like playing with kids. I thought you'd be different. Guan Shan quickly responded, no, I really like Fifei. We can play. We can play any game. The girl skeptically asked, really? Guan Shan nodded vigorously, then coughed and added, I really want to play with Fifei, but every game has rules, right? Fifei knows, only good kids follow the rules. The girl nodded obediently, Fifei is a good kid. Seeing the conversation was back on track, Guan Shan sighed in relief and continued, playing house is a complete game with a storyline. You can't suddenly add a new character. It has to make sense, right? Just like Fifei wouldn't want to find her parents only to discover they've divorced, and dad married an evil stepmother. The girl's face showed serious agreement, yes. That can't happen. Guan Shan pressed on, so the hero versus Demon King story is almost over. Adding a new Demon King's grandpa, who defeats the hero and takes his harem, would upset the audience, right? The girl looked confused. Why would that upset them? I think it's fun. Guan Shan pretended not to hear. Anyway, the story needs to be complete and satisfying, so no new characters can be added now. The girl bit her finger, blinking. Then what should we do? Guan Shan, seeing a way out, pulled out a toy bear from behind, speaking softly, so, Fifei can play a different story, like Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Grey Bear. You can be the Demon King Little Red Riding Hood, and the bear can be the hero. That's right, he remembered the expensive toy bear item, the key to saving himself. The girl took the toy bear, gently stroked its fur, leaned her head on it, and her expression darkened momentarily. But she quickly smiled, yay, thank you, big brother. The toy bear was just an ordinary toy bear. Although it was priced as high as 12,000 in the simulator store, it was still just an ordinary toy bear. At least, that's what the item description said. And at this moment, what could be more suitable for comforting a child than a toy bear? Obviously, nothing. Seeing the little girl Fifei smile and settle down to play with the toy bear, Guan Shan breathed a sigh of relief, his back drenched in cold sweat. Fighting a dangerous battle with the fishman boss did not bring as much pressure as facing this little girl. Although the little girl had not shown any superhuman combat power and her appearance was not terrifying, Guan Shan's nerves remained tense. His intuition kept warning him, danger, danger, danger. It felt as if saying the wrong thing would result in instant death. This tension made Guan Shan's head ache. Finally, he was able to relax. Guan Shan saw the little girl playing Little Red Riding Hood and the brave big bear with the toy bear. He silently took 2 steps back and finished off the boss trying to crawl away. Swish. With a single strike, he gained the experience. Experience plus 120,000. LV.20 rightward arrow LV.22. Current experience, 40650/300000. Breakthrough achieved. Current HP, 12,079 rightward arrow 32,079. Final boss defeated. Game simulation, zoo ended. Final boss defeated, 1/1, rating upward arrow. Elite monsters defeated, 11/11, rating upward arrow. Common monsters defeated, 215/215, rating upward arrow. Items obtained, Rabbit Pelt X3, Zoo Ticket X1, Dragon's Fragrance X1, Emergency Bandage X10, Mermaid's Tear X1, Skill Book Waterform X1, Someone's ID Card X1, Confidential Document X1. Rating, perfect, all obtained items retained. Rewards obtained, Game Currency X113500, Skill Points X2. Achievement unlocked, Narrow Escape. Achievement Reward, Enhancement Card X1. All rewards have been sent to the backpack, please check. New items unlocked in the store. Settlement complete, please wait for the next simulation. Remaining time in the scene, 0059. Feel free to explore during the waiting period. No more concealment, huh? Guan Shan looked at the final prompt. Not only did the scene not use the urgent term destruction, it even encouraged players to continue exploring. The richness of the rewards for this breakthrough task also reached a new level, confirming Guan Shan's previous speculation. After level 20, the experience gradient indeed turned into 100,000 per level. This is terrifying. If it's 1 million for level 30, then 10 million for level 40. Guan Shan took a sharp breath. With his current level, it was hard to imagine what kind of powerful monsters could reach such experience levels. On the other hand, it also indicated the huge gap between each level of espers. Currently, Guan Shan could still defeat a level 29 monster at around level 20, but if he were level 30, challenging a level 31 monster might be extremely difficult. Newbie. Thinking about the A rank, the Church of Unity fanatic still eyeing him, Guan Shan suddenly felt a sense of crisis. If that guy gave up trying to convert him and saw him as a threat, deciding to act directly, he might not be alive now. Guan Shan sighed, glanced at the little girl named Fifei again, and noticed a nearby office-like place with the light still on behind a half-open door. Guan Shan cautiously walked over, opened the door, and saw two corpses inside normal human bodies, albeit decapitated and in a gruesome state. Guan Shan squinted, then looked at the floor outside the office and the tiles inside. They were different. Moreover, the office had a more technological feel, contrasting with the zoo facilities outside. Only the zoo director nameplate on the desk reminded visitors that they were still in the zoo. Guan Shan made a bold guess. Could this office be part of reality, only slightly altered by the simulator, hence the inconsistent style? So, why is it like this? Is it because the simulator doesn't work around that little girl? Guan Shan looked outside, only to find the little girl had vanished. Guan Shan was stunned. He ran out to check and noticed a butterfly hairpin on the ground. When he picked it up, his vision blurred. In the next moment, he found himself back in his living room. Guan Shan blinked, a notification about the hairpin's attributes appearing before him. A hairpin. Effect: when HP is below 10, there is a chance to summon NPC little girl. Description: Big brother, you are a good person. What a sudden good person card? Guan Shan silently put the hairpin away. Judging by the little girl's attribute filled with question marks, she was at least level 30. This was a life-saving item. A good person card was a good person card. Another breakthrough task completed. I can now barely consider myself a beginner. Guan Shan sprawled on the sofa, completely relaxed. Although his body had fully recovered with the upgrade, he still felt a long-lost sense of fatigue. After spacing out for a while, he sat up again to check the rewards and the newly reopened store. Among all the rewards, two seemingly meaningless items caught Guan Shan's attention first. Someone's ID card and confidential document. Guan Shan took the someone's ID card from his backpack and twirled it between his fingers. The ID card was black and gold, with a black base and gold edges, made of high-quality material. On the front of the card were the golden numbers 067, and nothing else. Someone's ID card. Effect: proves your identity as a member of a certain organization or allows access to certain restricted areas. Description: an ID card issued by a certain organization, limited to 100 cards. It recognizes the card, not the person. Perhaps you can use it to your advantage. Using it to my advantage. Guan Shan rubbed his chin, feeling the simulator was hinting at something. Speaking of which, it's quite a coincidence that I encountered Fifei just when the toy bear was available in the store. Did the simulator predict this? But the simulator didn't specify which organization the ID card belonged to. Maybe the answer is in this document. Guan Shan tore the seal off the manila envelope and took out a thick document. As he read through it, his expression grew increasingly serious. The document detailed an astonishing Esper gene transport route. So, it turns out that the Esper genes traded on the black market, including those by Death Hive and Xiang Wen, all originate from the organization Heavenly Curtain. But what exactly is Heavenly Curtain? Guan Shan flipped through the confidential document, which detailed a portion of the cargo records from one of the branches of Free Logistics. From this, it wasn't hard to deduce that his breakthrough task this time was actually set within Free Logistics, and the enemies he faced were all employees of Free Logistics. Considering that he had just had a conflict with Free Logistics earlier, it seemed quite logical that the simulator chose this location for the task. Thinking of this, Guan Shan felt much more at ease. They struck first. In addition, the various items he obtained once again filled his backpack to the brim, but this time Guan Shan wasn't as anxious. Because after completing the breakthrough task, the store had reopened, allowing him to acquire new slots. Absolutely no worries. Among these items, what made Guan Shan happiest was the 10 rolls of emergency bandage, which meant he once again had ample healing methods. Next was the long-lost skill book, and it happened to be the water form skill he had previously stolen during battle. This skill was extraordinary, enough to overcome the disadvantage brought by certain terrains. If he encountered a similar water environment again, Guan Shan would no longer be at a disadvantage and could even turn it into his advantage. Following these were several items dropped from monsters. Rabbit pelt. Effect: after use, disguise as a rabbit for 120 seconds. Description: she curiously crossed the field, chasing the rabbit, just in time to see it jump into a big hole under a low tree. This thing feels a bit eerie. Guan Shan rubbed his chin, immediately recalling those rabbits from the instance, shuddering at the thought. Those rabbits, didn't they look like humans who had merged with the rabbit pelt? And the description was from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, where Alice entered a dream world through the rabbit hole, similar to how Guan Shan entered the simulation. Nui. Thinking this way, perhaps it was a reminder that the distance between reality and simulation might not be so unreachable? If he used this thing, wouldn't he also turn into that ghostly appearance? Chilling thought. Guan Shan shook his head vigorously, quickly comforting himself. The simulator's items are usually quite reliable. Even if there were any negative consequences, it would give prior warnings. Since there is none, it should be safe, right? Guan Shan's confidence wavered towards the end. Next time, I'll just have 47 try it first. Additionally, there was a ticket dropped from the chaotic battle, seemingly from that seafood-headed employee. Zoo ticket, scenario activation item. Effect, after use, re-enter the simulation scenario zoo within a 100-meter radius, including characters like rabbits, goats, tourists, and employees. Description, best used in conjunction with rabbit pelt for optimal effect. This was the second scenario activation item Guan Shan obtained after the metal plate, and it was directional. Guan Shan glanced at the description. Was this the simulator teaching him how to play the game? This indirectly indicated that the rabbit pelt could transform into might not be an ordinary rabbit. Among these characters, excluding the goat which Guan Shan hadn't encountered, the rabbit was undoubtedly the most lethal. Could it be that this item could reduce enemy combat effectiveness? But this requires experimentation to confirm. Then, there was the saliva dropped from the floating whale. The item named Dragon's Fragrance was a bomb-like substance. When applied to a weapon, it added the bone corrosion effect, significantly reducing the opponent's defense. It was a very useful enchantment item. Also, there was a tear dropped from the Fishman boss. Mermaid's Tear. Effect, summons a tide, cooldown 1 month. Description, mermaids do not shed tears. Guan Shan's mouth twitched. Calling that ugly creature a mermaid was an insult to the beautiful image of mermaids in his mind. But the item's effect was astonishing. The words summon a tide were enough to make Guan Shan gasp in awe. Wouldn't this essentially create a water environment? Combined with water form, it would be invincible. But this thing really doesn't look like a tear. Guan Shan scrutinized the blood-red bead, vaguely seeing thick yellow liquid inside, wrapped in blood veins. Coupled with the description mermaids do not shed tears, it wasn't hard to guess that this was not a tear but the eye of the fishman. The simulator really comes up with disturbing stuff, ruining childhood memories completely. Guan Shan sighed and put the item back in his backpack. Among the regular reward items, there was also an achievement reward called Enhancement Card. The achievement itself was called Narrow Escape, with no specific requirements given, making it quite mysterious. Considering the experience in the instance, the encounter with the little girl was probably the true narrow escape, hence the achievement. This item was for enhancing max level skills, allowing a level 5 skill to be upgraded further. Guan Shan thought for a moment and used it on gravity control. The utility and versatility of this skill had been proven in countless battles. Without it, Guan Shan would have died countless times. But now, this skill had also shown its limitations. Enhancing it was the best choice. Gravity control rightward arrow force field expansion. Force field expansion, level 1. Effect, creates a spherical force field with a 5-meter diameter, controlling all forces within it and defending against all external forces for 10 seconds. Description, absolute territory activated. Note, enhanced skills reset to level 0, requiring skill points for further upgrades. Guan Shan was stunned, almost choking on his own saliva. Cough cough. This skill is too ridiculous? Although it only lasts for 10 seconds and the range is reduced to 5 meters, isn't this essentially making breaking through the earth a reality? Force is the fundamental existence of the universe? If this skill continued to upgrade, it could really destroy the heavens and the earth. Excitedly, Guan Shan checked the skill upgrade requirements. 10 skill points per level. Guan Shan's excitement instantly cooled, reluctantly lowering his trembling hand. Well, never mind then. I only have 4 skill points now, and they need to be allocated to other skills too. Upgrading this skill will take ages. I'm really scared. Guan Shan had accumulated 4 skill points, just enough to max out both demonic markings and shadow clone. Shadow clone now produced 3 clones. Although this didn't significantly improve the quality, it at least gave Guan Shan the illusion of being able to gang up on his opponents. Demonic markings steadily enhanced the corresponding attributes of his demonic markings. However, in the context of the battles Guan Shan was currently facing, the damage output was somewhat inadequate. Or rather, the skill's activation time was too long. In short fights, where health fluctuated by thousands, its actual effectiveness was limited. Despite this, the skill hadn't reached the point of being obsolete, so Guan Shan didn't plan to replace it with water form. Additionally, he now had a total of 234,542 game coins. In the past, Guan Shan would have thought that he could go anywhere with that amount of money. Buying out the entire store wouldn't have been out of the question, but after his last experience of being financially smacked by reality upon opening the store, he had seen through the simulator's nature. If it allowed you to save up that much, it would surely not let you spend it all easily. Guan Shan opened the store and, as expected, his face twitched at the sight. The items displayed were as follows. Enhancement Card X1 priced at 300,000 game coins. Backpack expansion slot X10 priced at 100,000 game coins. Skill slot expansion X1 priced at 200,000 game coins. Accessory slot expansion, body, X1 priced at 200,000 game coins. Equipment expansion slot X1 priced at 200,000 game coins. Hermit's cloak X1 priced at 50,000 game coins. Hidden blade X1 priced at 10,000 game coins. R, P, G, X1 priced at 100,000 game coins. Eye of Insight X1 priced at 6,000 game coins. Skill book, Blood for Blood X1 priced at 50,000 game coins. Even though Guan Shan had mentally prepared himself, seeing the 300,000 game coin price tag at the start still left him speechless. Fortunately, this was just the simulator's initial shock tactic. The prices of the items that followed were relatively more reasonable. Reasonable, my foot. Guan Shan flipped through the items with a deadpan expression, feeling like a laborer exploited by capitalists working hard for half a year only to find his wages rising slower than prices. With grave. The prices, 10 or 20,000 apiece, made it seem like game coins were worthless. Though it's undeniable that these slot expansions were in high demand, and their importance justified their high prices, it was still quite disheartening. The only thing that brought Guan Shan some comfort, or rather mixed feelings, was discovering that the enhancement card he got for free was actually worth 300,000. In other words, he had gotten 300,000 for free. First, I definitely need to buy the backpack slots. Guan Shan purchased the 10 slots for 100,000 game coins, expanding his backpack capacity to 27/38, much more spacious now. As for the remaining 134,000, survival is the priority, so the equipment and accessory slots can wait. Not that I could afford them anyway. Guan Shan contemplated, then focused on the Hermit's Cloak X1, Hidden Blade X1, Eye of Insight X1, and Skill Book, Blood for Blood X1. Although these items only cost a total of 116,000, his equipment and accessory slots were full. To better utilize these items, he'd need to make some room. Guan Shan decided to sell his Glock 17 to the store, gaining 10,000 game coins. As the enemy levels increased, the small pistol he had since his first instance was now obsolete. Against ranged enemies, the pistol's range wasn't far enough, and against melee enemies, its damage wasn't sufficient. A hidden blade would be more useful for surprise damage in close combat. Besides, hidden blades were stylish. Guan Shan bought it and immediately equipped it, admiring the sharp blade that extended and retracted from under his wrist, feeling quite cool. Hidden blade. Attack power, 2000. Effect, causes bleeding, poison, and stun effects upon hitting the enemy. Description, this hidden blade is poisonous, swish. Yes, the effects were quite insidious. The simulator's equipped weapons could be concealed and summoned as needed, so there was no worry about them damaging clothes or being too conspicuous. No need to replace skills for now, so I'll pass on that. The Hermit's Cloak and Eye of Insight together cost 66,000, so I can get both. Now I can totally cosplay as an Assassin's Creed character. The Hermit's Cloak was a body accessory that had a similar effect to Lin Schumann's ability, lowering his presence but not to the extent of complete invisibility. Guan Shan figured this item might be more useful in everyday situations than in the simulation scenarios. The Eye of Insight was a tool that functioned like eagle vision, allowing him to see through buildings within 100 meters, check the status of nearby creatures, and mark them. It had a 3-minute cooldown, making it a very useful support tool. And it only cost 6,000, making it the best value item in this store update. With this, Guan Shan finally sorted through all the rewards from his breakthrough task, yawned, feeling his eyelids getting heavy. He glanced at the sky and fell asleep right on the sofa. In the Hangzhou Free Logistics branch, manager Zhang Xinglong was leisurely awaiting news. He was waiting for the arrival of the deranged Esper water coffin Feng Lu. He took a sip of tea, glanced at the documents about Guan Shan on his desk, and sneered. Judging by the time, he should be finishing the task of escorting the pan-spirit object tonight. He should be able to come over. When he arrives, it will be this guy's death day. Zhang Xinglong was confident about this. A mere C rank, having a top B rank go after him was already a dignified way to die. If it weren't for the suspected A rank pan-spirit object in Guan Shan's possession, a B rank wouldn't have been necessary. The cost of deploying a B rank wasn't cheap. Zhang Xinglong still felt a bit pained thinking about it, but the thought of the A rank pan-spirit object's value made him feel much better. But tonight, he was destined not to receive the news he was waiting for. Knock, knock. There was a sudden, heavy knock on the door, followed by the sound of boots hitting the floor. Are you Zhang Xinglong, the Hangzhou branch manager? Who was so rude? Didn't they know to announce themselves first? Zhang Xinglong was about to scold them when he looked up and froze. In front of him stood a man in a black trench coat, followed by a group of people in courier uniforms who quickly stood in formation with their hands behind their backs, clearly well trained. These were people from headquarters. Zhang Xinglong immediately stood up, nervous, but with a smile. Hello, sir. I am Zhang Xinglong. Is there something you need? If it's an inspection. The man's sharp gaze landed on the documents about Guan Shan on the desk. Are you the one who requested B-rank Esper Feng Lu from the Southwest branch to assist in the operation against the Special Security Group's non-staff member Guan Shan? Zhang Xinglong nodded. Yes, I did. Why? I followed organizational procedures. The man sighed. Why? Just now, the Southwest branch no longer exists. What? Zhang Xinglong was stunned, his mind blank. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. He felt the world spinning as he heard the man continue. All 227 employees, including Feng Lu, are dead. 3 warehouses were destroyed, and all goods escaped. We now suspect this is related to your order to attack Guan Shan. I'm really scared. Hang Xinglong felt like he had been struck by lightning on a clear day, muttering in disbelief. How could this be? An entire branch, with a B-rank esper stationed. How could it just be gone? That's a question you should be asking yourself. The man picked up Guan Shan's file from the desk. Why did you decide to surround a C-rank esper? Zhang Xinglong opened his mouth but, facing the man's gaze, gave up on lying and confessed, he has an A-rank pan-spirit object. Acquiring and reselling pan-spirit objects through various reasonable means was an unwritten rule within free logistics, a very common practice. The man had an I thought so look on his face, then sneered. Did you ever investigate why a C-rank esper has an A-rank pan-spirit object? And why it hasn't been forcibly confiscated by the Special Security Group? Possessing a higher rank dangerous pan-spirit object is a major violation of Special Security Group regulations. Do you think those old geezers at the Special Security Group wouldn't know? Zhang Xinglong was stunned. Why indeed? He stammered. I didn't think too much at the time. He's an external member, so I thought the Special Security Group might not be too strict. Bang! Zhang Xinglong was sent flying. The man turned into a blur, following closely, and pressed Zhang Xinglong against the wall with a hand on his neck. Zhang Xinglong's face turned red, then quickly darkened, veins popping on his forehead. He struggled, choking out, spare me. The man's eyes were cold. At the same time the Southwest branch was destroyed, the Special Security Group announced that they would send someone to the Yuhao team to evaluate the strength of their external member, Guan Shan. Do you know what this means? Zhang Xinglong's pupils contracted, a chilling fear welling up inside him. He began to struggle frantically, red-eyed and shouting, impossible. Impossible? He's just a C-rank. The Special Security Group had its own unwritten rules, one of which was that anyone specially evaluated by the group was almost certain to grow into an S-rank in the future. Considering the fact that Guan Shan possessed a higher rank pan-spirit object, it was highly likely that he was protected by the Special Security Group, allowing him to break the rules. And while the organization might tolerate the sudden death of a C-rank esper, it would never leave a potential S-rank as a future threat or source of discord. Crack. The man exerted force, snapping Zhang Xinglong's neck and cutting off his words. He coldly removed the ID badge from Zhang Xinglong's neck, letting him slide to the floor. His subordinates quickly came in to collect the body, bag it, and clean up the scene. The manager of the Hangzhou branch would soon be replaced by someone wiser and more cautious. Guan Shan was still oblivious to all this. He had a rare peaceful sleep, waking up refreshed and ready to head to the Yuhao team's base. Come to think of it, this is probably my first proper interaction with other espers. Guan Shan smirked. He had been to the base fewer than 3 times and had limited interactions with the Yuhao team members, only managing to get along passably well. They usually didn't act together, and Xiaolei hadn't assigned him any tasks. But he probably wouldn't be doing missions with others much in the future either, even if there were team tasks. The simulator had to remain a secret, at least partially. Many of his abilities couldn't be displayed in front of others. As Guan Shan stepped out, he saw Lin Schumann pulling up in a car, honking twice to signal him. Guan Shan was a bit surprised. It's rare. You're not using your ability. Lin Schumann coughed awkwardly, then said seriously, today, I'm just the driver. Guan Shan opened the car door and got in the back, joking, you're really busy, a jack of all trades, doing all kinds of jobs. Lin Schumann started the car, biting her lip, and looked at Guan Shan through the rearview mirror. I have no choice. Our third team is mainly for support. I don't have much combat ability, so over the years, I've picked up a lot of seemingly useless skills. It looks like I can do everything, but I'm not really proficient in anything RAOE. Like driving, I can only drive smoothly. Guan Shan sincerely said, that's good enough. It's better than those who drive recklessly, endangering themselves and others. As a journalist, Guan Shan had seen far more car accident footage than the average person, and some of it was horrific. The stuff that made it to the news was usually the most sensational, but there was plenty more that was just as bad but didn't get selected. After chatting for a while, the car entered a construction area. When they reached a section with the road completely dug up, Lin Schumann didn't stop but kept driving, as if unaffected, and they eventually reached the main gate of the Yuhao base. It was clearly the work of an illusion-type esper. Guan Shan followed Lin Schumann, listening to her introduction. Today's evaluator is an A-rank esper from the Central Adjustment Team, codenamed Tai Bai. He's not just any esper, but one of the immortals like Yezi. Guan Shan clicked his tongue. An A-rank esper was at least level 40 in simulator terms, and being an immortal known for combat prowess, this Tai Bai could probably defeat 100 of him. Lin Schumann comforted him, but you don't need to be too nervous. This Tai Bai senior is an old friend of Director Xia. He shouldn't make things too difficult for you. Guan Shan wasn't nervous to begin with, but since Lin Schumann was concerned for his well-being, he smiled and nodded. That's good to know. Old Xia has quite a wide circle of friends. Lin Schumann immediately gossiped. Director Xia used to be an A rank, so his connections are extensive. He only stepped back to become a director because of an injury. She led Guan Shan to the largest training room in the base, whispered some encouragement, and left. According to regulations, no other espers were allowed around the training room during an evaluation. So, Guan Shan had seen hardly anyone on his way in, all for confidentiality. Guan Shan waved as Lin Schumann left, then pushed open the training room door. The room was large, about 5,000 square meters, with a short track and various testing equipment. The floor was made of a blue special material, similar to rubber but feeling more solid underfoot. Guan Shan felt he would need to use at least 30% of his strength to break through it. Near the entrance, chatting casually, were Xiaolei and a middle-aged man in a suit of similar age Tai Bai. As soon as Guan Shan entered, they stopped talking and looked at him. The evaluator, nicknamed Tai Bai, was far from being fair-skinned. In fact, he was quite dark-skinned. This man had dark skin, a face full of rough features, and wore a pair of photochromic glasses that appeared light yellow under normal conditions but turned into dark sunglasses in the sun. At this moment, in the bright light of the training room, this middle-aged man in a suit looked more like a gang leader than an evaluator. All he needed was a gold chain and a floral shirt to complete the look. Guan Shan approached and greeted the two men. Xiaolei patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, old Wang isn't the type to make things difficult. Just cooperate." Old Wang, whose real name was Wang Yu, known as Tai Bai, pursed his lips. "Who dares make trouble under your watch?" Xiaolei chuckled. "I'm just a B rank now. You're an A rank. Why wouldn't you dare? I think you want to." Old Wang looked up at the sky, pretending not to hear. "Duty calls. I will be fair and just." He turned to Guan Shan with a meaningful look. "But the talent you found this time is truly remarkable." They had been discussing the massacre that occurred at the Free Logistics Southwest branch last night. The whole story quickly became clear, and the key figure who wasn't even at the scene was Guan Shan. There was no evidence directly linking him to the incident, but it was hard to ignore the coincidence. The manager who hired Feng Lu to kill him was dealt with by Free Logistics, and then Feng Lu and the entire branch were wiped out. Such a coincidence led to speculation, especially since Guan Shan's records indicated he had used space-related abilities for teleportation before. If he had done it, it wouldn't be surprising. However, Guan Shan's current strength was between C rank peak and B rank, making it hard to understand how he could kill Feng Lu, the B rank peak, along with the Southwest branch manager and all its members. Therefore, it was likely someone else did it, but it was definitely connected to Guan Shan. It seemed the higher UPS had no intention of further investigation, likely deciding to condone the matter. When Wang Yu received the order, he understood that this evaluation didn't need to be too stringent. Sending someone with a good relationship with Xiaolei for the evaluation itself was already a sign. Wang Yu sighed internally. Over the years, it was evident that the special security group had adopted a relatively lenient attitude towards certain geniuses, seemingly to encourage their growth. New beta. But this also potentially bred chaos. Guan Shan smiled politely at Wang Yu. "It's just luck. I must thank Director Xia for his support and protection." Wang Yu whispered to Xiaolei, "This kid's smile seems fake. He looks pretty deep." Guan Shan. "It's just a journalist's professional smile?" Xiaolei laughed. "He's just joking. Don't take it to heart. He's quite humorous." Guan Shan forced a smile. "Quite humorous indeed. As an evaluator, you shouldn't joke like this. What if the higher UPS really think he's scheming?" Wang Yu adjusted his glasses and comforted, "Relax, even if I think you're scheming, it won't affect the evaluation. My main task is to test your abilities." He shrugged. "Your character and psychological assessment are the psychologist's job. That's a bit worrisome." Guan Shan wasn't sure if his current psychological state was considered good or bad. He exhaled. "All right, Tai Bai Senior, how do we test my abilities?" Wang Yu looked at him. "First, tell me the types of abilities you have and their detailed manifestations." Guan Shan had prepared his words in advance and immediately said, "Physical class enhancement type. Specifically, it enhances my body's resistance to damage, self-healing ability, speed, and strength significantly." Wang Yu crossed his arms. And? I remember you having more than one ability." Guan Shan nodded. "I also have a special class space ability. This includes storage and short-distance teleportation, but the latter can only be triggered under specific conditions and can't be used normally." Wang Yu raised an eyebrow. "What kind of specific conditions?" Guan Shan thought for a moment and shrugged. "Like when it's quiet and late at night. Anyway, it's not usable normally. The ability isn't user-friendly at all. So last night's incident was related to you." Wang Yu gave him a sidelong glance and nodded. "Understood. Then next." "Wait." Guan Shan shook his head and interrupted. "Actually, there's more." Xiaolei's expression became more serious, but he wasn't particularly surprised. Clearly, he had already guessed that Guan Shan might have more than those two abilities. Wang Yu paused, then turned to squint at him. "More." Despite having been hinted at by Xiaolei earlier, Wang Yu was still somewhat incredulous. "You mean, you have 3 abilities?" Guan Shan nodded without hesitation. "Yes, 3. My third ability is gravity control." Wang Yu's pupils contracted, and he lost his composure. "Are you sure? Gravity control?" Guan Shan spread his hands. "If you don't believe me, I can demonstrate." That's right, although the gravity control skill had been upgraded to force field expansion by the enhancement card, Guan Shan decided to report it as gravity control. Half true and half false, it would be hard to verify and wouldn't hinder him from using the skill. Wang Yu rubbed his forehead. No, I believe you. I'm just a bit too surprised. The ability to control gravity ranked 7th on the victim list. That's right, not 107th, not 17th, but 7th? Only 2 people had this ability, one B rank and one A rank. Neither were from Hua country, and both had caused over 10,000 casualties each, which was extremely alarming and terrifying. This ability was highly dangerous. Firstly, because of its stealth. Yes, this ability was very covert in its early stages. Unless deliberately revealed, it could be disguised as various other abilities, such as merely enhancing one's speed or appearing as a strongman by reducing an object's weight. Secondly, because of its growth potential. If this ability matured, it would have the destructive power of a mobile natural disaster. The holders of this ability often developed an inflated ego, feeling superior, which eventually led to antisocial behavior. The previous holders both followed this path, ultimately being eradicated by a coalition. Because of this ability's uniqueness, it was universally feared. Wang Yu looked at Xiaolei, who was also somewhat caught off guard. After taking several deep breaths, Xiaolei signaled to Wang Yu. All right. Wang Yu scratched his head. He looked at Guan Shan. No big deal, just 3 abilities. It's not like, well, actually, there really isn't. Anyway, it's not a problem. Let's test your abilities first. Since your specific energy level can't be detected by instruments, we'll have to determine it through combat. Yes, the test is to fight me. So, you fought with that Tai Bai senior. Lin Schumann stood in the infirmary, looking at the young man sitting in the chair, his arm wrapped in bandages, and asked with a mixture of amusement and disbelief. The test had ended 10 minutes ago, and her first task was to escort Guan Shan to the medical unit. She had been scared, fearing serious injuries, but the situation was much better than she imagined. It was just some minor injuries, like fractures, a mild concussion, and internal organ damage. Well, for a physical enhancement type Esper, these were indeed minor injuries. If Lin Schumann had been slower, Guan Shan's wounds would have healed completely. Guan Shan remained calm. It wasn't just one fight. He held up 3 fingers. It was 3. Lin Schumann. Guan Shan sighed. 1 test per ability: physical enhancement, gravity control, and a combination of both. The space ability didn't involve fighting, it was just testing the storage space's limit. Guan Shan took the test seriously. He wanted to know his combat level in normal conditions and gain a more detailed understanding of the system. However, since Wang Yu had no intent to kill, the simulator didn't activate. Without the simulator's deification, normal items couldn't be stored in the backpack, so there was no way to test how large an item the backpack could hold. The storage distance must be in contact, and the storage type was specific items, particularly panspirit objects. As a result, Wang Yu gave a very low rating for the storage ability, only D rank, with the comment, very suitable for working at Free Logistics. Given that Guan Shan was suspected to be connected to the destruction of the Free Logistics branch, this comment was quite ironic. Gravity control and physical enhancement were tested first with instruments, then in actual combat. Guan Shan controlled it to around level 5 of the gravity control skill, which was 1,000 kilograms. Due to the significantly reduced duration and range, the actual effect seemed lackluster under deliberate control. Wang Yu's final rating was B7, noting that with further honing, it could be more effective in combat. However, the short range and duration were limiting factors. Without improvement, reaching a rank in this lifetime seemed unlikely. But Guan Shan noticed that Wang Yu seemed somewhat pleased when he said this. Guan Shan was initially puzzled, but after Xiaolei explained the incidents involving the previous gravity espers, he felt relieved. If he had reported the original gravity control data, he might have become a key watch subject. In the current situation, keeping a low profile was better. The evaluation for the physical enhancement ability was slightly lower. At B3 rank, this was Wang Yu almost pummeling Guan Shan into submission. This outcome didn't surprise Guan Shan. He had never learned systematic combat techniques, relying entirely on skills. Without the simulator's assistance, he couldn't beat a combat-specialized immortal. And he feared pain. Yes, because in the simulation, Guan Shan felt no pain. This was his first real fight with an Esper in reality. It wasn't as unbearable as expected but still quite painful. Even though Guan Shan could endure it, his body far tougher than an average person's, another person might have been reduced to tears. Wang Yu didn't come out unscathed either. He deliberately held back his strength, resulting in him sustaining several times the injuries of Guan Shan, without the latter's recovery speed. With diary CCS. Guan Shan was now sitting outside this Tai Bai senior's recovery room. In summary, Wang Yu rated Guan Shan as B5 rank. Xiaolei watched the whole time, his eyes filled with deep shock. Wang Yu might not have known, but Xiaolei had witnessed Guan Shan's meteoric rise from D rank to B rank in 3 months. Such a rapid ascent was unprecedented, beyond mere frightening. If not for this, the higher UPS wouldn't have paid so much attention. Xiaolei exited the recovery room and patted Guan Shan's shoulder. The evaluation results have been uploaded. Other teams will soon know. Your mission file has also been officially issued. I've sent it to you. Make sure to read it. Guan Shan nodded and asked, got it. By the way, is Tai Bai Senior okay? Xiaolei coughed. He's already left. Guan Shan was surprised. Left? I didn't see anyone at the door. Xiao Lei's expression became strained. He jumped out the window, saying it was too embarrassing. Guan Shan, jumping out the window isn't embarrassing? Guan Shan's face darkened. Didn't he hold back? How is this embarrassing? Xiao Lei sighed. That's just how he is, cares a lot about face. He felt that getting hurt by you was already a failure, and in the end, he said, I never want to see you again. I don't really want to see him either. Guan Shan touched the bandages on his arm, feeling a twinge of pain. Xiao Lei added, oh, by the way, since you have an official rating, your corresponding benefits will also be upgraded. I've already had this month's money transferred to your account, and the shortfall from the previous months will be compensated. Previous months will be compensated. Wow, the special security group is really generous. This beating was worth it. Guan Shan's eyes lit up, the pain gone. He quickly took out his phone, checked his account, and gasped, almost choking. Thank you, organization. Guan Shan shook Xiao Lei's hand gratefully. I'll do my best on this mission. Xiao Lei's expression turned serious. Actually, you don't need to try too hard. Well, never mind. He smiled. Next time we meet, you might be a member of an independent squad. Guan Shan sensed that Xiao Lei had something more to say but couldn't. He felt a bit uneasy but outwardly just nodded. An independent squad requires a rank. I'm still far from that. Besides, Tai Bai Sr. said I might never reach a rank in this life. Many people get stuck at this level. Xiao Lei sighed. With great power comes great responsibility. Guan Shan returned home and opened the encrypted mission file on his phone. On January 17th, gather in Shanghai and meet with other team members. Then there will be further instructions. This mission is quite mysterious. Guan Shan narrowed his eyes. Wouldn't each person receive different instructions? A game of werewolf? Guan Shan shook his head. No, the special security group wouldn't play such tricks. Anyway, Chief Li is leaving in a few days. I'll figure it out in Shanghai. I also need to ask White Knight about how to access the black market. You want to enter the black market? Easy. If you just want to buy things normally, go to this website. White Knight showed his phone to Guan Shan across the table. On the screen was a web page with a black-themed interface. It looked like a forum, with posts mostly about buying and selling requests. White Knight continued mysteriously, speaking in a low voice, this forum is also part of the black market, only visible to espers. The black market ensures transactions proceed normally as a third-party guarantor. Regular people see a 404 not found page when accessing it, so there's no need to worry about security. A website dedicated to trading pan-spirit objects? Guan Shan glanced at it, memorizing the URL, then shook his head. I need to find venom. You know I have to go to an offline auction. Are you promoting this site for a commission? He rubbed his chin. I remember when you were preparing to rescue me from the room, you got the spatial disruptor from Suling recently. I learned from Xiao Toming that one of the current black market overseers is named Suling. White Knight's expression froze, his mouth twitching in frustration as he put his phone away. Should I say it's not surprising for a journalist to be so sharp about these things? Guan Shan chuckled. You're too enthusiastic, and you were the one who provided the information on venom. Now you're pushing this site, your motive is too obvious. White Knight's frustration lasted only a moment before his eyes lit up with excitement. Seriously, don't you want to join my detective agency? I think you'd make a great detective. Guan Shan rolled his eyes. I'm busy. The subtext being, I'm not as idle as you? White Knight didn't push further. All right then. Guan Shan couldn't help but ask, aren't you still in school? Don't you have classes? They were meeting in a cafe within White Knight's university dorm area. The place was secluded, surrounded by lawns and trees, making it very quiet and empty. White Knight took a sip of his coffee, completely unfazed. I skipped. Guan Shan. How bold? So straightforward. White Knight chuckled. With my ability, acing a few exams is a piece of cake. But I'm not interested in studying. In high school, I didn't understand the importance of keeping a low profile and got dragged into competitions A with ring above Nu Epsilon S. He grimaced. You don't know how awful that was. When I refused, the teachers signed me up anyway. I was so mad I climbed over the school wall that night and disappeared for 3 days. Only when they couldn't find me did they leave me alone. Since then, I've fallen from grace, always just passing exams, and they couldn't do anything about it. Guan Shan found this both amusing and exasperating. What a troublesome student. But for an Esper, this didn't seem too far-fetched. It wasn't a waste of talent either, because White Knight's high scores were due to his unlockability. If he chose to focus on studying and competitions, he would soon hit a limit due to his abilities level. Continuous upgrading of his ability was the only way to maximize its potential. However, as far as Guan Shan knew, White Knight had already tried various ways to enhance his ability after the special security group tried to recruit him, but with little success. His ability, like Lin Schumann's invisible presence, likely required a breakthrough through inspiration. Further progress depended on luck. Guan Shan waved his hand. All right, back to the point. How do I enter the black market? White Knight instantly turned serious. To attend a black market auction, you need to become a member. The black market is just a term, its official name is Hermes Staff. Domestically, it's just an agency, with the headquarters overseas. To become a member, you need 2 official members' recommendation letters, then register offline at the black market's Shanghai branch and prove your financial capability. But note, the black market can't guarantee your privacy won't be leaked. They claim otherwise, but in reality, well, you get it. White Knight patted his chest. Don't worry, with me around, membership and hidden identity are easy. I've already had Sister Soling set one up for you at the Liaoshan branch. He pulled out a dark green metal card from his pocket, grinning. Top tier. How about that? Guan Shan took the card and examined it. It looked luxurious, with gold, jade, and diamond inlays representing 3 tiers. His card was the highest level. White Knight then handed him a document. This card uses a fabricated identity for registration. Don't worry, this person doesn't exist in reality. All the information is computer-generated, including the appearance. But his resume is as real as it gets. Also, I have an optical camouflage mask. It can't be used for disguise, but everyone at the auction hides their identity. Just use it to cover your face for safety. Guan Shan glanced at the identity information. The name was Li Zhao, a small-time businessman with the ability of shallow mind control. He nodded, impressed by the detailed profile. It felt like a real person. The photo showed a face that bore at least a 60% resemblance to Guan Shan, or rather, it was an AI-generated blend of his own features. This was convenient. Even if his face was accidentally exposed, he could explain it away with the slight differences in the photo. Clever indeed. Thanks. Guan Shan accepted the card and the optical camouflage mask, a thin, smooth, comfortable piece with a touch switch on the edge to change preset states. White Knight laughed heartily. No need to thank me. You're my life-saving brother. These things are worth nothing compared to my life. Guan Shan chuckled. Then I won't return these. White Knight grinned. I wouldn't take them back even if you did. This overly righteous guy really practiced what he preached about loyalty. Guan Shan didn't stand on ceremony. After all, he had truly risked his life to save the group trapped with him. He wasn't someone who expected nothing in return. Guan Shan then took out the strange 067 ID card from his pocket, placing it on the table. Do you know where this card comes from? White Knight's pupils contracted sharply. Heavenly curtain. While Guan Shan and White Knight were chatting, in the cafe, Lu Hai and Cao Ruanan, both wearing waiter uniforms, were standing inside and outside the counter, fiddling with the coffee machine and cups. Cao Ruanan rested her chin on her hand, peering through the glass at the two men talking outside. She asked Lu Hai, "What do you think the president is up to this time? And who is that guy? If he's a client, we shouldn't need to avoid them, right?" Lu Hai shrugged while wiping a cup. Who knows? The president is always mysterious. We just need to cover for him. One of the key reasons White Knight chose this cafe for his meeting with Guan Shan was that today, the cafe was staffed by their own people. Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai were actually members of White Knight's detective agency. Moreover, they were also espers. Cao Ruanan had telekinesis, while Lu Hai had enhanced intuition. But they were only D rank, and Cao Ruanan had even risen from E rank. Finding these two small talents had taken White Knight great effort, searching throughout the entire university, highlighting how rare espers were, and those with combat abilities were even rarer. Cao Ruanan sighed. The president's level is much higher than ours. Naturally, he can contact more mysterious people. It must be something we shouldn't know about. She glanced at Guan Shan, observing him for a while, then said, "But this guy doesn't seem particularly special." Lu Hai rolled his eyes. "We're espers too, but we don't have 3 heads and 6 arms." Cao Ruanan shook her head, countering, "But our levels are low. Look at the president, he's not normal at all." Lu Hai didn't know whether to take that as a compliment or an insult. But the worst part was, he couldn't argue with it. White Knight, or rather, Bai Dezhuang, was indeed quite abnormal in his actions. His excessive sense of justice turned him into a super good guy who would even help old ladies cross the street. Cao Ruanan, bored, watched for a while but saw nothing unusual. Suddenly, her gaze focused on a boy walking towards Guan Shan and White Knight's table. The boy was thin, wearing a simple down jacket and trousers. He seemed distracted and absent-minded, but his expression changed when he saw Guan Shan, and he quickly walked over. "Isn't that Zhao Qiji?" Cao Ruanan was surprised. "I remember he was involved in an esper incident. His 2 roommates disappeared. He's the only survivor. Officially, those 2 were said to have transferred schools, but in reality, they were most likely dead. In esper-related incidents, if there was any commotion, it usually meant casualties. If no one heard anything, the situation wasn't too serious." This was a rule summarized by White Knight. Lu Hai was initially casually turning his head, but suddenly his expression changed. Someone is following him, and they don't mean well. Cao Ruanan's face darkened. Lu Hai's intuition ability was highly accurate, so his words were likely true. But who would be following Zhao Qiji? Using her telekinesis, Cao Ruanan slightly enhanced her cognitive abilities, quickly scanning the surroundings and identifying a suspicious person. A woman not far behind Zhao Qiji on his left, wearing a beige trench coat and with permed hair, looked like a fashionable and beautiful female student. However, she kept pace with Zhao Qiji. When Zhao Qiji quickened his steps, she also sped up, heading in his direction. Cao Ruanan turned and asked, "Is it her?" Lu Hai immediately nodded. Cao Ruanan was about to push the door open and go out. Lu Hai tried to stop her. "Wait, notify the president first." Cao Ruanan pursed her lips. "They're right outside. If I talk to them, won't it alert the other side?" Lu Hai was stunned. "Then what should we do?" Cao Ruanan confidently smiled. Leave it to me. Yes, Heavenly Curtain. Guan Shan nodded gravely. I obtained this card because of certain events. I only know it's from Heavenly Curtain, but I don't know its purpose. So, I wanted to ask you. Heavenly Curtain was a real international criminal esper organization. Its history dated back to the Middle Ages, and its reach spanned from the North to the South Pole. Its influence was so great that it could manipulate the political landscape of some countries, even replacing their leaders at will. Even the Special Security Group could only ensure the country's internal stability against it but couldn't eradicate the threat. As its name suggests, it's like a curtain covering the entire sky, casting a chilling shadow. Compared to it, Death Hive was merely a swarm of slightly toxic bees. The encrypted document Guan Shan obtained detailed the shipment list entrusted by Heavenly Curtain to Free Logistics. If the information was accurate, even the rise of Death Hive, controlled by Drone B1, was pushed by Heavenly Curtain. The so-called Ascension Candy didn't awaken abilities but bestowed them. This was something Guan Shan realized after seeing Queen Bee's data in the simulator. Queen Bee's blood contained the concept of connection, and Drone B1's Ascension Candy was actually a gene fragment of an ability provided by Queen Bee's blood, acting as a stable container. When Ascension Candy was ingested, the dissolved container released Queen Bee's blood and the gene fragment. The connection concept activated, permanently merging them with the user's genes. Thus, a new Esper was artificially created. However, the ability wasn't truly theirs but a prosthetic snatched from someone else. Where did so many different gene fragments for Drone B1's experiments come from? The answer was Heavenly Curtain. White Knight, looking shaken, sighed in relief upon hearing this and forced a smile. Next time, give me a heads up. When you suddenly took it out, I thought you were revealing yourself as a Heavenly Curtain spy here to kill me. Guan Shan raised an eyebrow. Maybe I am. White Knight froze. Don't scare me. Guan Shan stopped joking. Seriously, what does this card represent? I got it from someone in Free Logistics. White Knight was stunned, then said seriously, this is an announcer identity card from Heavenly Curtain. There are only 100 of them, representing a qualification. With it, you can make one request to a Heavenly Curtain, and they will fulfill it. But it also means you must join them, becoming one of their members. Think of it as a fancy recruitment tool. Guan Shan turned the card over, frowning. How do they ensure it won't be exploited? White Knight shook his head. I don't know. I only heard about it and never saw the card. Guan Shan was about to speak when the cafe door suddenly opened, and a female server came out, shouting at someone behind them, Zhao Qiji, you dare bring your mistress here. The moment Cao Ruanan emerged and shouted, White Knight sensed something was wrong. When she uttered that sentence, he immediately reacted something was up. He turned towards Zhao Qiji and saw a young woman following the young man. She hesitated, frowning, but didn't walk away. Although the situation seemed odd, it wasn't alarming enough to turn and leave. The target was right there. Perhaps this could be an opportunity to begin the indoctrination mission. Zhao Qiji, on the other hand, looked utterly bewildered, pointing to himself and stammering, me? Are you talking to me? People passing by had already been drawn to Cao Ruanan's loud accusation, ready to witness a drama involving a scumbag and a mistress. Some even had their phones out, ready to record. Seeing Zhao Qiji's reaction only made them more contemptuous. This was clearly the guilty behavior of a scumbag trying to deny everything. Cao Ruanan pointed at Zhao Qiji, running up to him. Yes, you? Is there anyone else named Zhao Qiji here? Zhao Qiji was even more stunned. But I don't know you. Cao Ruanan's eyes widened dramatically. You don't know me? How dare you say that? Was all our time together just my wishful thinking? Is that why you brought this woman to show off in front of me? No, no. Zhao Qiji waved his hands frantically, thinking to himself, where did this woman come from? He turned to see a woman indeed just a few steps behind him. He was shocked. Why was she so close to him? But that wasn't the point. The point was, he didn't know this woman at all. You've got it wrong. I'm just here to meet someone. I don't know her. You can ask that lady yourself. Zhao Qiji explained. Maybe you've mistaken me for someone else. Even as he said this, he felt a strange guilt. The woman had called him by his name. Could it be he was involved in another supernatural incident and lost his memory? Zhao Qiji turned to the woman behind him. Hey, you should explain too. We really don't know each other. Cao Ruanan stepped forward, her tone fierce. What do you mean you don't know her? Don't think you can get away with this. The woman also took a couple of steps forward, scolding. What nonsense are you spouting? I'm just passing by. You have no right to accuse me out of nowhere. You're insane. Cao Ruanan pointed at her even louder. Oh, now you're justifying being a mistress. At this moment, White Knight approached, trying to play peacemaker. All right, let's all calm down. What happened here? Zhao Qiji, feeling like he finally saw a savior, quickly said, this person has mistaken me for someone else. I have nothing to do with her. I don't even understand what she's talking about. Yes. White Knight thought for a moment and then said, so you were tricked by a bad woman. Zhao Qiji, huh. Before he could react, White Knight had already pulled him aside, seriously saying, don't worry, I've called the police. Being set up like this is unacceptable. We at White Knight Detective Agency will ensure justice is served. White Knight's voice was much louder than Zhao Qiji's, instantly changing the narrative. From a love drama involving a scumbag and a mistress, it shifted to a law enforcement scenario involving extortion. The crowd's interest piqued even more. The woman finally realized these people were together and had malicious intent. She narrowed her eyes, stepping back. What are you trying to do? Zhao Qiji was even more bewildered, struggling to keep up with the unfolding drama, stammering, I really don't know her. Whatever this is, deal with me. I'll call the police. As he spoke, the woman had already begun to retreat, preparing to flee, trying to escape. Cao Ruanan saw this and was about to charge forward. The woman turned, only to bump into someone. She tried to push past, but suddenly found herself unable to control her body. She staggered forward and crashed into a roadside tree, her head taking the brunt of the impact, blacking out instantly. But it wasn't over. As she fell, it felt as if gravity had multiplied, pulling her down heavily. Her head hit the ground with a loud thud, causing everyone to wince at the sound. The woman groaned, unable to scream, passing out immediately. The bystander she had collided with was none other than Guan Shan, who had maneuvered behind her during the commotion. He withdrew his hand, deactivating the force field expansion skill he had just tested. Guan Shan thought for a moment, feeling that force field expansion offered more precise control compared to gravity control, allowing perfect control over the required force. This way, he avoided accidentally killing her. Guan Shan took out his ID, showing it to the crowd. Police business. Unrelated persons, please step back. We will take mandatory action if necessary. He didn't even need to raise his voice. His calm demeanor, honed through numerous life and death battles, naturally exuded an aura of authority and trustworthiness. As the onlookers stepped back, he called for backup to handle the situation. White Knight approached, instructing Cao Ruanan, search her thoroughly. Check every nook and cranny to find out who she is. It was considerate of him to remember the gender difference, leaving no room for misconduct. A true paragon of justice. Got it. Cao Ruanan immediately complied, sneaking a curious glance at Guan Shan. She knew he had made his move, but it happened so fast she couldn't discern his ability. Nonetheless, it was clear that he had extensive combat experience, acting decisively without giving the opponent any chance to react. Guan Shan walked over, smiling at Zhao Qiji. Long time no see. Zhao Qiji's eyes lit up, rushing over. My savior? I didn't expect to see you here. He was extremely excited. Ever since that incident at the apartment, I've wanted to thank you in person, but so much has happened since then. Zhao Qiji was one of the 3 college students affected by the Qin Diguang apartment incident, and the only one saved by Guan Shan. After thanking Guan Shan profusely, Zhao Qiji turned to the unconscious woman, hesitantly asking, since you're here, does this mean she? Cao Ruanan flipped the woman's coat, pointing at the collar. This emblem, it's from the Church of Unity. When the logistics team arrived, Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai tied up the woman and brought her into the cafe, where everyone gathered around to examine her. Guan Shan sat next to White Knight, narrowing his eyes. The Church of Unity. It seems the Qin Diguang incident isn't over yet. White Knight, who was familiar with the incident, pondered, another indoctrinator. Taking advantage of survivors' psychological vulnerabilities? The Church of Unity is expanding its activities more frequently. I wonder what their end goal is. Zhao Qiji, understanding the situation, asked anxiously, am I being targeted by the people who created that apartment? His voice trembled. The apartment-turned-monster had left a deep scar on his psyche. In that incident, he lost 2 close roommates and endured a real-life horror game experience. Even now, he couldn't fully recover, often seeing the faces of his dead roommates in his nightmares. Although the special security group had sent psychologists to help him, and his daily life wasn't affected, the loss of his friends was a constant shadow. He lived in a daze, haunted by the fear of becoming a monstrous creature himself. Guan Shan nodded, comforting him, but don't worry. Qin Diguang's tragedy happened because he wasn't on the special security group's radar. You're now a key protected individual, and you won't be in any danger. Look, this Church of Unity member is already taken care of. He glanced at the woman, who had woken up and was glaring angrily but remained silent. Cao Ruanan, curious, asked, I heard Church of Unity members have their own unification objects, like Qin Diguang chose the apartment. What's hers? White Knight, stroking his chin, studied the woman. I guess, it's her hair. The woman was startled, her expression changing drastically. How did you know? White Knight chuckled. Just a guess. You're well-groomed and meticulous, but your hair, though seemingly permed, is natural and unkempt. I even noticed it doesn't smell like shampoo, only your perfume. A well-kept woman would pay special attention to her hair. If not, it must be because it's her desired object. Guan Shan, even knowing White Knight was serious, sniffing hair for clues seemed a bit perverted. However, his logic was actually built on speculation. For White Knight, all his guesses and questions could be automatically unlocked by his ability within its limits, providing him with direct answers. Judging by Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai's perplexed expressions, White Knight was indeed unusual. Lu Hai suddenly felt a sense of danger, wanting to speak but then hesitating, sensing it wasn't very dangerous. He was confused and stayed silent. The woman's expression shifted between shock and horror, but mostly fear. Her fear didn't last long. In the next moment, her expression turned resolute. She gritted her teeth, and countless strands of hair burst from the ground and the sofa, attacking everyone. Nui. The sight was horrifying, like a scene from a ghost movie. especially the hair emerging from the sofa, creaking as it grew longer, as if someone were buried inside, and the hair kept growing out. The woman had used her hair to infiltrate the sofa and the ground while she was tied up, preparing for this attack. Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai were startled. The hair attacked with lightning speed, as hard as steel. Cao Ruanan tried to block it with her telekinesis but only managed to slow it down slightly. She realized the woman was at least C rank. The hair slashed their arms and faces, and more strands were coming, clearly aiming to kill. But someone moved faster, much faster. Guan Shan, who had been sitting nearby, sprang into action. A black and red patterned long knife appeared in his hand. He stepped onto the coffee table, pivoted his wrist, and the blade cut through all the hair effortlessly. Simultaneously, he severed one of the woman's arms. Thud. Blood sprayed across the sofa. The woman was stunned, then felt the searing pain. Her face contorted as she opened her mouth to scream, but Guan Shan backhanded her with an elbow. The force broke her facial bones and dislocated her jaw, rendering her unable to close her mouth. The intense pain silenced her as she collapsed on the sofa, convulsing in her own blood. It all happened in an instant. When the hair fell to the ground, everyone else finally snapped out of it, staring dumbfounded as Guan Shan wiped the blood off his knife. Guan Shan frowned and muttered, "No simulation? Strange." When he saw the woman attacking, he instinctively aimed for a lethal blow, but then remembered she had value, so he settled for cutting off an arm. Only now did he realize the simulation hadn't activated. Was he too quick, or did she lack the intent to kill him? Guan Shan pondered, concluding that his speed probably outpaced the simulator's response. It was a good thing, actually. Not triggering the simulation at every little threat would make life more normal, especially as he interacted with more espers, many of whom would have ill intentions. Constant simulation activations would be disruptive. White Knight's eye twitched. His coffee was still steaming, but now a severed arm lay in front of him, the blood steam fresher than the coffee. He turned to see his two members, frozen and trembling on the sofa, completely dumbfounded. It seemed there was no mistake in calling him the demon god. This guy was terrifyingly brutal, but now wasn't the time for awe. White Knight quickly set his cup down and stood, calling for someone to clean up and tend to the woman, then reassured Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai. "It's all right. This is just a small scene. Battles between espers are hundreds of times more intense. If you can't handle this, how will you face greater dangers? Look, Zhao Qiji here is just a regular person, and he's braver than you too." Indeed, Zhao Qiji showed no fear, instead looking at Guan Shan with admiration. Cao Ruanan, still shaken, tried to regain her composure and said, "Well, she attacked first. Guan Shan was saving us." Lu Hai nodded quickly. "She harmed others first. She deserved it. Don't move." At this moment, Guan Shan stopped the logistics team's medics. He walked over, grabbed the woman's hair, and lifted her up, staring into her eyes. "From now on, you have one chance to tell me everything you know." He pointed at White Knight. "This guy can tell if you're lying. You just experienced that. The medics are right here. If you talk, I'll save you and let you join the special security group for protection. But if you lie once, you'll bleed out in 5 minutes." Guan Shan smiled. "Now, your choice." Guan Shan's ruthlessness and decisiveness left White Knight and the others stunned. Naturally, the woman from the Church of Unity couldn't hold out for long and quickly confessed everything she knew. As Guan Shan had suspected, after he saved Zhao Qiji from Qin Diguang, the Church of Unity set their sights on the survivor. The Church of Unity particularly favored survivors of Esper incidents. On one hand, these survivors had seen Esper abilities and understood their dangers. On the other hand, they had experienced trauma, leaving psychological shadows. Where there were shadows, there were opportunities for exploitation. While survivors were under the protection of the Special Security Group for a time, this protection was temporary. The Special Security Group had limited manpower and couldn't assign an Esper to guard one ordinary person indefinitely. Once the Esper left, the indoctrinators of the Church of Unity could move in. Ordinary people couldn't detect these indoctrinators. With gradual contact and subtle influence, over time, a person's mindset could be changed. Qin Diguang was gradually brainwashed in this manner. The Church of Unity members were far more patient than ordinary people. Their entire lives were dedicated to one goal, unifying all things. Everything else was irrelevant. To achieve unification, according to their doctrine, it was like defeating a world boss that required everyone's contribution to progress. When someone and something unified, their death would advance the progress bar of unification. If they could indoctrinate even one person, it was a significant contribution to unification. This meant that if they wished, they could spend their entire lives lurking around someone until they turned them into a new reborn. This was their mission and their faith. Because of this, the cult was extremely dangerous. Someone you know might be a hidden member of the Church of Unity, waiting for the right moment to turn you into one of them. The woman had been following Zhao Qiji for some time, cautiously staying hidden. Finally, she waited until the Special Security Group's Esper finished their duties and left, preparing to approach Zhao Qiji, only to encounter Guan Shan and White Knight. White Knight shook his head. "This guy has really bad luck? The indoctrinators I've seen were hidden for a long time before being exposed. This one was caught before she even started." The woman had only recently become a cult member, and her faith wasn't deeply rooted. She spilled everything she knew, including information about several of the Church of Unity members and their hideouts. Guan Shan called Lin Shuman, informing her of the situation and cautioning them to be careful, as it might be a trap. Lin Shuman replied seriously, understood. When dealing with the Church of Unity in the past, once we confirmed a hideout's location, the first thing we did was demolish the building and then conduct heavy fire sweeps, leaving no traps. Guan Shan, got it. The special security group was much more experienced in handling the Church of Unity. Guan Shan knocked out the woman with a severed arm and handed her to the medics. The logistics team immediately injected her with a muscle relaxant and fitted her with the self-destruct collar that had once saved Guan Shan on the bus. The woman was already terrified, offering no resistance, making the process easier. While the logistics team cleaned up, Guan Shan and the others moved to another table in the corner, continuing their previous conversation. Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai felt like they were dreaming. Just moments ago, they were at a murder scene, and now they were back to chatting peacefully. It was hard to adjust. No s. Guan Shan looked at White Knight, then at Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai, and decided to text White Knight, I need detailed information on Venom. White Knight was surprised and replied, I already told you. He'll be at the auction, probably selling the damaged Quesadagarba statue. Guan Shan shook his head. Not enough. White Knight suddenly felt a chill, realizing something. What are you planning? Guan Shan texted, it's not about what I'm planning. Venom operates in the gray areas. He wouldn't simply sell that half statue. He's waiting for the other half to appear. That half-damaged statue isn't worth much. If he finds someone bidding aggressively, he can easily figure out who desperately wants it. And whoever wants it likely has the other half. White Knight frowned. Venom might indeed make a move. He's familiar with shady dealings and has connections with the black market forces in the city. He looked at Guan Shan, continuing to text, if you're worried about him coming after you later, I can arrange for someone to help you escape. It won't be difficult. Guan Shan shook his head again. I said, it's not enough. He looked at White Knight, who suddenly had a bad feeling, stood up, and blurted out, you're not planning to assassinate him, are you? Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai were shocked and confused, feeling like they had stumbled into some conspiracy. Was the president and this ruthless guy discussing assassinating someone? Cao Ruanan was stunned. She had always misunderstood the president. Despite his odd behavior, he was involved in such thrilling activities. Guan Shan raised an eyebrow, calmly looking at White Knight. White Knight realized his voice was too loud, sat back down awkwardly, and coughed. That's not possible. Venom is B2 rank, not a non-combatant like me. His position was earned through countless lives. I know you're strong, but you almost died fighting Room. Venom is at least twice as strong. Don't do something rash. Guan Shan chuckled. I thought you knew. Your information network is quite extensive. It seems the special security group's confidentiality is good. White Knight was puzzled. What confidentiality? Guan Shan said, I've already reached B rank. White Knight said, I know. Wait, B rank. He looked at Guan Shan in disbelief, speechless. Guan Shan explained, the Central Investigation Team formally evaluated my rank a few days ago. I'm now officially B5 rank. We're equals now. White Knight was still in shock. In just a month or two, from C rank to B rank, what kind of concept was this? After confirming that Guan Shan had indeed reached B rank, White Knight, while amazed, agreed to investigate the detailed information about Venom and promised to provide updates in a few days. Guan Shan was then showered with gratitude by Zhao Qiji, who saw him as a life-saving hero for the second time. Naturally, he held immense admiration and gratitude for him. Before parting, Zhao Qiji expressed his resolve, I've decided what I want to do. I'll join the military and eventually become part of the Special Security Group's logistics team. He smiled bitterly. Anyway, there's no hope of graduating normally now. I've had enough of the rumors and can't concentrate on anything. Rather than living in constant fear, I'd rather face those scumbags head-on and fight. Guan Shan patted his shoulder, offering encouraging and supportive words. Life is about making one's own choices, and Zhao Qiji's current situation couldn't get any worse. Once the lunatics from the Church of Unity targeted someone, they would stop at nothing to achieve their goal. Guan Shan had experienced this firsthand. Zhao Qiji wanting to join the logistics team was at least a goal. Whether he could achieve it was another matter, but for now, it was a good choice. After bidding farewell to everyone, White Knight was bombarded with questions about Guan Shan's identity by his two subordinates. White Knight, feigning mystery, pondered for a moment before stroking his chin and saying, it's hard to say. For now, he's a special member of the Special Security Group's Yuhao team, but that might change soon. Cao Ruanan's face was full of curiosity. Does it have to do with what you two were discussing? What exactly is going on? Why do I feel like, boss, you seem a bit scared of him? Lu Hai chimed in, who wouldn't be, considering how terrifying he is. White Knight snorted and then sighed, you haven't seen him in a real fight. It's terrifying. If I weren't his teammate, I'd have pissed my pants countless times. Do you know his nickname? Demon God. And his power level can't be measured by conventional means. He pointed to the ceiling. The higher UPS were initially hesitant to use him, suspecting he was red level. But after many secret tests showed he was green, and with former A rank Xiaolei vouching for him, they finally allowed him to operate under the Special Security Group's name. Cao Ruanan nodded, somewhat understanding. Then she asked, what about now? White Knight chuckled. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Soon, your boss might have an S rank buddy. Cao Ruanan and Lu Hai were stunned, their eyes wide with shock. SS rank. White Knight clicked his tongue. No mistake. Someone who can make the Central Investigation Team personally come to test him and rise from C rank to B rank in just a month or two, unprecedented. If he doesn't become S rank, I'll eat my hat. His subordinates were still in shock, cautiously asking, "Can you really tell us this? Are you sure we won't get silenced?" White Knight waved his hand. "Soon, this news will spread throughout the Esper community. How long do you think it can be kept a secret? Besides, Guan Shan already has a lot of attention on him." Guan Shan's official B5 rank designation by the Central Investigation Team indeed spread quickly through the Esper community, generating a lot of buzz. Some doubted his abilities, thinking he was only tested in person because conventional methods couldn't measure him. Others, impressed by his past feats, believed he would be the next S rank. But at the center of the storm, Guan Shan had already bid farewell to Shen Dinghua and boarded a flight to Shanghai. Although Li Jiying had offered a private jet, Guan Shan chose to fly commercially to avoid suspicion. He didn't encounter any lawless hijackers on his flight. Hijacking was even less likely than a crash on Chinese soil. However, he did unexpectedly discover an Esper on the plane. He noticed the Esper when the plane encountered severe turbulence due to a thunderstorm during landing. His portable power level detector suddenly activated. The needle on the detector shot up to A rank, then stabilized before dropping again. During this time, the thunderstorm gradually ceased. Guan Shan observed and identified a woman in the second row on the left. The woman wore sunglasses, had red lips, pale skin, and a red dress and nail polish, exuding a wealthy aura. But Guan Shan noticed that during the thunderstorm, the woman lowered her sunglasses slightly, revealing dark golden pupils. She then lightly traced her finger down the window, causing the hidden lightning in the storm to extinguish instantly. This woman likely had an elemental ability to control lightning? Guan Shan, unfamiliar with all Esper intelligence, couldn't identify her but decided not to engage. They were merely passing strangers. After disembarking, Li Jiying called, saying she had sent someone to pick him up. The boss had arranged everything, including accommodation in a nearby villa. Living like a rich person sure is comfortable. Guan Shan placed his luggage aside and toured the villa. However, once he started working, he couldn't stay here and would need to rent his own place. Fortunately, he wasn't strapped for cash anymore. After settling in, the next day he received a text from the Special Security Group with instructions for his next task. Go to the bridge underpass near the KFC on Kinmen Street. Guan Shan frowned. Just one instruction. This task must be complicated, with multiple steps. He reluctantly put away his phone. Well, I have to do what I'm told. This job pays the bills. Following the instructions, he went to the bridge, slid down the slope, and found someone waiting under the bridge. He approached to greet them. "Hello, may I ask?" Before he finished, he noticed the person wore a familiar collar, the self-destruct collar. This was a recruited Esper criminal. Just as the thought crossed his mind, the person lunged with a knife aimed at Guan Shan. What's going on? Guan Shan's eyes narrowed as he grabbed the knife, realizing the blade was turned towards its wielder. The person grinned eerily and plunged the knife into their own abdomen.